Now we're live.
Yay.
Yay.
So,
Hi.
I mean, the funny thing is there's always a lag, so I can't see if anyone's here, but I'm going to say hi to anyone that potentially is here.
Hello.
For anyone that isn't on my channel, then my name is Chloe. This is my channel, obviously. If you haven't subscribed to me already, consider doing so. And then if you guys want to introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah. I'm Sarah from Sarah Lorraine Reed. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I got.
I'm Hallie from Let Hallie Read. And yeah, we all have booktube channels. And Sarah gives the best side eye in the world. So you need to watch her videos. I literally, on your, was it the bar in the bookcase tag that you just did? When you talked about your friend's your sister's friend, and you did it, I literally rewinded it and watched that like 5 different times, and I just cracked up laughing every single time.
That is so funny. Thank you.
If you're into the best facial expressions, go over to Sarah's channel right now.
Thank you.
Definitely. I'm really bad with the descriptions, but obviously I'll go back after the live and put everyone's. I say everyone's. There's only 2 other people. I'll put both of your your channels in the description.
Yeah, that's why I think this will be fun. I feel like we're all super different when it comes to like our reading taste and what we like in books and just the type of readers we are. So I think it's going to be really fun and entertaining.
Well, we all know what Sarah likes.
True. No surprise.
I mean, I like it too, but
I mean, it's just because if I'm being told, oh, there's like some sexy times in here, you know, some smut, we love to see it, and then I'm reading it and there's none, I'm just like, for what reason?
Yeah.
You know, if nobody told me that this was like a series that was like, ooh, so smutty, I wouldn't like have an issue. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's because I was bamboozled.
Yeah, you have to deliver on what you say.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. I don't know, Hallie, do you want to kind of take the reins, seeing as you've got your notes or whatever it was you
Yes.
You're the organizer.
I do. With my notes.
Oh my God, I love that.
I did these notes more for my vlog than anything else because I was reading and I didn't want to like turn my camera on every single time I had a reaction because that's just like a lot of clips.
Yeah.
So I try to find stopping points. And so this is more for that, but it also helps with this too.
Yeah, I love
that. So I thought we might start from the other like live shows I've seen about books. I really like it when they do like kind of the first section, not really first half, because sometimes it doesn't last very long because we want to get into the spoilers. But like the first little section is just like your spoiler-free thoughts on what you thought, what we liked, what we didn't like, characters we liked, didn't like, but without those spoilers. And then for anyone, obviously, if you've read it, you know, we definitely want to know your thoughts, but just keep it spoiler-free for this portion of the live. So that's kind of where we thought, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah.
What were your overall spoiler-free thoughts?
Oh, wait, should we not start with our rating?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think about that.
I gave it 4 stars.
Yeah, I gave it 4 stars as well.
I was really excited. I gave it 5, which was probably just like my hypedness, because I think I told you guys that like it's been a really long time since a series has just made me excited to continue the series. Because I used to exclusively read series, and I just haven't anymore. I guess with BookTube and what we're doing with our accounts and our social medias, committing to a series is sometimes really difficult because there's just so much you want to read. And so it's been hard to commit to one. And this one was like the first one that I was like, okay, this is legitimately exciting me for the first time. So
yeah, I agree. Well, I just feel like in general, I'm not really a series person, or like I don't really binge read series. Like I'll read the first book and I'll be like, okay, this is fine. And then like months later, I'm like, I kind of want to read the second one. I'll read the second one. But this one, I was like, all right, give me Akmath. I need it. I want it. So I feel like that's good too. I think the only reason I gave it 4 stars and not 5 is just because the beginning, because I had already previously read like the first half of the book in 2019, and I have no recollection of that. But so it was all content that I already knew. So I think I was like bored. And that's why it kind of diminished my enjoyment in the beginning of it. But yeah, I feel like if I hadn't read it, because it's still interesting.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Yay.
No,
It's
I
really
get that.
funny. Oh, sorry.
No,
I
go
was
for
going
it.
to say it's really funny that so many people say that the first half is just not good, and I didn't think that at all. Like I thought the
No.
first half was a solid portion of the book.
Mhm.
I didn't give it 5 stars just because when it's series and I've heard a lot about like the next books and they say that like people say that the next book's better. I'm just like, well, I might as well give it 4 stars.
Yeah.
Just there's a bit of a step up.
Sure. That makes sense. I'm always like with series, I'm one of those people that if I start a series, I have to read them back to back to back. I can't wait to read the second or third one after a while or after a long time. That's usually why I just wait for books to come out all together. I won't even start a series unless all of them are published. Which actually reminds me, do you guys know if she is done with this series or is she going to?
I don't think she is.
I don't think so.
Okay. But there's enough to keep me going.
Yeah.
We'll get there. So
yeah.
No, I definitely saw someone post something about there should be another one in 2022 or 2023. I can't remember.
Okay.
That's not that long.
No.
Yeah.
But it is for people that love the series.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's gonna be people who read them. I'll be reading all of them now.
Yeah. I feel like. Oh, I think it was you, Sarah, that said something and now it's out of my head. Where did it go? Oh, yeah. Both of you were guys kind of saying that like a lot of people don't like that first half of the book. I think a lot of it, I liked it. I agree with you guys. Like I really enjoyed the first one way more than I thought I would. But I think a lot of reason that people might not be into it as much is because, we already know what the story is about because of the blurb on the back. And I feel like the majority of the first half is just setting that up. So it's not like anything surprising because we're just like, this is what it said it was about. So you're not like catching me until the last half where, well, I can't go into that, but then it picks up quite a bit.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah, I completely agree. Listen, I agree. That's very impressive, Hallie.
Yeah.
I have to. It's hard I did DNF the Outlander series though.
But that's also a really long one, isn't it?
Those are long. That's a long series. And like the first 3 books kind of just give you everything you want. And then after that, you're like, you've given me everything I was hoping for. I don't feel like I need to keep going.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm missing anything. And I watched the TV series, so but yeah, that's the only series I think I haven't finished. So
yeah, I think there's more series that I have not finished than I actually have finished.
Yeah.
Can barely think of like one series I've actually 2 series I've finished and that's it.
Yeah.
Got another friend.
Hello.
You're not, to be fair, we haven't spoken about that much yet.
No, we're in the non-spoiler portion of it all.
We've actually probably talked about other books more than we have ACOTAR right now.
We're fired.
What I guess we kind of already talked about kind of like what we liked. Well, what did we like and like dislike overall? Again, non-spoiler as of right now.
The characters.
Yeah,
that's the main thing, and everyone always says like the characters are the thing that like. I mean, the plot's interesting and everything, but especially in ACOTAR, I think it's the characters that makes you want to go back and find out what's happening in their lives.
Yeah,
I completely agree. I think the characters are the strongest point in the book because really I enjoyed all the characters. I think all the characters were really well done, and then like in the last part. I won't say who, but the big main villain of this story too. I even think she was a really well-written character. I mean, obviously she was terrible, but you know what I mean? Even then I was like loving to hate her kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to recap for Steph, I gave it 4.
Yeah, I give it 4 as well.
I give it 5. because I was super hyped.
We love that.
But do you know what, Hallie? After watching your vlog, I was actually like, some of the stuff you say, especially with more like the what inspired it, I was like, actually, I probably should have given it 5 stars because it was a lot more clever than I thought that it would be, considering it's like a hyped fantasy series.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, I feel like I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it. I don't know. I feel like sometimes with overhyped books, I actually feel like I have lower expectations because I'm like, most of the time, even if they're really hyped, sometimes it's like, why is it that hyped? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I went into it, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm really going to like this. And then I was like thoroughly surprised the whole time because I was like, I'm into this. Like, you know?
It's probably best to go into it having lower expectations.
Yeah.
I try to go into hype with no expectations at all, just so I can come up with my own thoughts on it. So yeah.
I sort of went into it like wanting to not like it because I like to be a hater. Like, I don't want to be like everyone else and everything.
Yeah.
But I went into it not wanting to like it, and I did like it. So if that says anything about it.
Yeah.
And like,
I mean,
got a pretty stubborn mindset, so.
Yeah. Listen, we love to see it.
Thought it could change your mind. Non-spoilery, what would you say? Can you say things that you didn't like about it without being spoilery?
I actually feel like there wasn't anything for me that I can really pinpoint that I did not like about it.
Okay.
Like I said, the only reason for me it was the 4 stars just because the beginning content I already knew. So it was just kind of like me rereading the same stuff. But I just don't, like, I can't think of one specifically that I'm like, oh, I really didn't like this.
Yeah.
We're just going to stop you there so we catch up with some comments. Always go in with low expectations. And
It's
Kimberly agrees as well.
Yeah. Except Chloe tries to be overly critical in general.
Yeah.
No matter what.
But that won't come out until we actually talk in depth because, like, I can't really say anything.
Yeah. I agree. There wasn't really anything that I can think of. I mean, I haven't even looked at my specific notes, so other things might come up later that I'm like, oh yeah, I actually didn't like that. But as of right now, overall, I don't think there was anything I disliked. Not that I think any book can be criticized.
Yeah.
I don't think I give it a 5 stars, but I know that there are criticisms.
Yeah. Well, you're not like, this is the most perfect, best book I've ever read in my entire life. Like, no.
Yeah. Like, there are some times that she would like repeat the same word over and over again that I was like,
yes, she does that.
If she tells me one more time that someone's going to rip something into ribbons, I'm going to like wall.
Literally.
The only description that she has of tearing something apart is tearing it to ribbons. And I was like, girl, we got to pick a different word.
Yeah. There's so much growling.
All the growling.
Don't like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, sure. There's definitely things that I'm like, but it's more of just writing style choices. And, you know, being an English major for so long, I had to really learn how to stop being critical of writing and just enjoying the story for what it is. I don't think she's a bad writer. I definitely think there's worse writers out there.
Yeah.
I don't think she's a bad writer at all, but I do tend to have a little bit more of a critical eye when I see a lot of the same descriptive imagery repeated over and over again. It's give me something different.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I've noticed that too. Especially, I know we're not talking about the second book, but especially in the second book, I think she writes in sections and then she just like thinks of the same descriptors. And then like in that section, she's just saying it over and over again.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I got that too.
Unsure.
I got that too. Yeah.
What about you, Chloe? Is there anything specifically you don't like?
I think specifically like small things like the growling and everything, but that's more of like a plot thing. It's more of like a character thing. So it's not towards the author, even though she did make those choices, which like, I don't know why, but like as a whole, I think in general, it's like, if I were to compare it to a lot of other books that are similar to it, it's just good. Like there isn't really anything I can think of in general.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. Growling.
The growling is on another level.
Which that's going to transition me into my next question for you guys. and we'll talk about that here in a second.
Yeah.
Growling.
I'm like, ooh, my favorite topic.
Have we read Throne of Glass? I haven't.
I have the first book, but I haven't read it. And I've heard okay things about it. I've heard really good things about her Crescent City that she's recently published. But I've heard more so-so things on Throne of Glass, and I think that one's more YA, while this one is more adult. And I feel like the series is really long, so it's like, I don't want to commit to it yet.
That's how I feel. Yeah, I honestly have like zero intention of reading Throne of Glass, and then I think because the series is so long, I barely read like 2 books in a series. So I'm like, you want me to read like a 7-8 book series? Absolutely not. Could never be me. But I mean, there's people who still really like that series, but I've also seen people who like the first couple books, and then towards I think the middle books, they're like over it.
Yeah. I think you always have to question with a series that's that long, is the author, especially when they've got other projects. Like the fact she's writing, I don't know if Throne of Glass has ended, but there would have been at least some overlap between ACOTAR and Throne of Glass.
Yeah.
And it's like, can she consistently deliver on both of the series, even if they're not being released at like the same times, but there's still something there.
Well, and she just announced her second book for Crescent City. Like she's already going to do it.
Yeah.
I don't want my dog gets.
Oh,
Hello.
cute. We love dog friends.
Yeah.
I know.
Love your dog.
Yay.
Red
She likes a mother.
Yeah, I think it depends what you like, because from what I've heard, Throne of Glass is more plot driven, I guess, because it's like an assassin and everything, so it sort of has to be a plot thing.
Yeah, I feel like that's why I wouldn't really like it. I'm all about characters. Like,
me too.
I've said it once, I'll say it again. I'm a hoe for character development. We love to see it. So I feel like I get bored when there's too much plot. And I think that's why I liked it in this, because most of the plot-driven aspect of this book was the last 100 pages. So I enjoyed that, because then it wasn't like the whole book. I was just reading action sequence after action sequence, because then I get bored.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm the same
That's
way
why
with
I don't like action movies.
Oh, yeah. It's like,
people put them on, they're like, oh, let's watch like Fast and Furious, or let's watch whatever else there is. I don't even know any names of them. And then they're like, let's put this on. Like my uncle, who, like, he likes something that he doesn't have to engage with that much. It's kind of like you put something on, flash, 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 and everything.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, it's so exciting. Do you want to watch it with me? I'm like, and then I think I'll go and sit upstairs. Thanks.
Yeah. You're like, I'm fine.
Jeremy's the same way. Jeremy's the same way.
Lost me towards the middle of the series, for sure.
Yeah, that's what I've heard a lot about that series.
I wonder, is it the same way there's like character shifts? Because obviously the most recent ACOTAR book has had like a character perspective shift, and I'm guessing Throne of Glass maybe does that as well.
Well, I think Throne of Glass, if I'm correct, is told in like multiple points of view.
Oh, okay.
But I think it's third person. I could be completely wrong, but I think it's like where they follow different characters in different chapters, or it could be first person, but I'm pretty sure it's more multiple POV.
Yeah.
That series, I believe.
Sometimes works and sometimes doesn't for me. Like Six of Crows, it worked. Game of Thrones, it did not work. And it just kind of depends for me.
Yeah.
Crescent City.
Yeah. The more I know like City, the more I want to try it.
I know. I really want to read that.
Oh, urban fantasy. That's more my jam, I think.
Yeah.
I think I prefer urban settings.
I completely agree. Well,
I'm very new to that. Very new to urban fantasy. But I'll get into it.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like I'm new to fantasy, period. So like urban fantasy at least is a little bit easier for me, because the setting is something familiar. But like I think in this book too, like she did a really good job of like world building and explaining everything to me. And I love the map, so I'm always looking at the map every time anything is mentioned. I'm like, thank you so much.
I do that too.
Wait, I feel like when I looked at it the first time, I just saw like the UK, but I can't remember if that's.
Isn't that
it looks like the UK.
That is so funny.
It looks, but the only thing is that like technically, what would be Ireland has been shifted a bit. It's been pressed down, but otherwise, it's basically the UK.
I saw a meme or a TikTok that basically said all maps and books are based off of the UK. And I was like, that's kind of true. Like,
That's so
a lot of the fantasy I look at is.
Well, I guess the UK used to be the center of the world, kind of, like during the British Empire. So if it's come from that,
Yeah.
it was okay.
I
Fair
feel
enough.
like
Steph needs to read Crescent City. All of us do.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wait till the second book comes out, though.
Yeah.
Character development.
Yes. Thank you.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
Ooh, listen, I want to know how. Let us know how it is, Crescent City.
Yes.
Because I've heard good things about it, but I've also heard because a chunky boy that like the first half of the book is kind of slow. Is what I've heard.
Yeah.
Because it's like 1,000,000 pages long.
Yeah.
See, this is what I found really funny, right? It's pronounced Kale or something like that. I'm like, who calls a character Kale? And then I saw a video with someone being like, someone used to always pronounce my name Kale, and I don't know who it was, but someone said people used to pronounce my name Kale, and I'm like, no one wants to be named after Kale. And then it's like, well, that's just this dude.
And isn't he like one of the love interests or something?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't know anything about
I just always hear about things. Like I don't get spoiled, but I just know everybody's business in all these books because like everyone just talks about it.
Yeah. That's the only thing I ever knew about ACOTAR is the fan art that I would come across. And so I saw names. Like I saw Rhysand, I saw Cassian, Lucian. I call him Lucian. I don't know why, but oh well. But yeah, I just see names. I'm like, who are these people? And,
well, now we know.
Yeah.
I know.
We know some of them. There's definitely a couple coming up. Oh, also, you guys would know this because you've started ACOMAF, or at least started or finished. I'm not quite sure. I flipped through it and I just saw that there was a character called Mor, M-O-R, right?
Yeah.
That means mum in Danish. So I'm just like, there's a character called Mum in it.
Oh my god, I'm dead. We love that.
Gets more POVs as the story goes on. See, these kind of series remind me of like a soap opera, like in the UK, like EastEnders or something, where people come in and people come out and people die, and they're just like people disappearing left, right, and centre, and then arriving, it's like you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, honestly.
It's a chunky baby, yeah.
That's why
that's Crescent City.
Yeah, I feel like it's really big.
Yeah, but so Lee is saying buddy read for Crescent City.
Listen.
Steph is also saying, wait.
Say less.
Oh no, wait. I think is it Throne? I think she meant Throne of Glass actually, because she's got little asterisks there. I'm not sure about Throne of Glass.
Well, no, I think she because earlier she put GOT.
Yeah, Kale in the GOT. Yeah. So I was thinking, is there a character named Kale in Game of Thrones?
Oh, GOT.
Yeah, I think she's fixing that.
Okay, right. Here we go. That confused me. So it's Crescent City then.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So going back to ACOTAR, I have one more kind of spoiler-free question, and then we can get into specifics. This was my, I think I put this in my vlog, so you guys have heard this, but this was my second time reading anything about fairies and fae. My first experience with it was the Cruel Prince trilogy, which I ended it and I was like, that book was okay, but have you ever read a book and the more you think about it, you're like, actually, I didn't like that book. The more I think about it, I really didn't like that. So I wasn't a huge fan of The Cruel Prince, and not because it was fairy or fae. I just feel like Maps did such a better job of introducing fairy and fae. But I was wondering if anyone watching, if you guys have read a lot of fairy fae and how you feel like they dealt with it, and what your experience was with that.
I have not read anything, I don't think, with fairy or fae, but I do have to say I feel like I could see it getting very confusing if it's not done correctly, and I think that she did a really good job in this book because I was not confused really ever with the whole world and kind of what fairies can do and their magic and all that. It was never confusing to me at any point. So if I'm reading a fantasy and I'm not confused, that's like the 10 out of 10 win for me. So I'm like, we love to see it.
No, I haven't read anything with fae or fairies. But like I feel like when it comes to something like this where there's already, I guess, a group of people that have knowledge about it and understand the law, that you have to define, am I doing my own thing or am I going based off of the law and expecting people to know what I'm talking about? And either you stick to that and you're like, right, the people reading this have to have learned about it beforehand, or you define your own thing. And I think that's what Sarah J. Maas has done, is kind of being like, right, it's about something that it kind of exists in people's minds, but this is the way I'm doing it.
Right.
And the way you define it.
I think you have a lot of flexibility with the fae, which I know that we're talking about in our group chat, like, is it fairy or fae? And I think it's fae is just like the plural for fairy. But the different types of fairies was interesting, which I think I kind of knew that in lore. Them being very beast-like was very off for me. I was like, is that a fairy fae lore thing? That they're like,
it's because he shapeshifts.
Yeah, like, and I guess like where the growling comes in. I'm like, wait a minute, like, because obviously it's a Beauty and Beast retelling, and you're supposed to see as beasts and animals. But I got there, like the fairy aspect of it got a little lost on me because they were acting and treating it like they were also animalistic. And so it's like, okay, are you fairies or are you like shape-shifting wolves, werewolves? Like which are you going with here? And so that threw me off a little bit, but I still think that she does a better job than Hallie Black does with the Cruel Prince, personally.
Yeah. Well, I feel like for me it was a little less disorienting just because I don't really have anything to compare it to. Like I think the most I've read about like fairies was in the Mortal Instruments or like just the Shadowhunter series. There's like some fairies, but they're very like side character. It's not really any world building with that too much. So yeah, to me I was just like, all right, he growls. Okay. And I just kind of took it at face value and I was like, okay.
That's funny.
All right.
You growls, you just shapeshift.
Catching up. So this was about the thinking about books and then realizing that you didn't actually like them.
Steph is the other way around. It's funny.
Yeah.
I agree, Leah. I do like what Mass does a little bit better than the Cruel Prince.
And what did you give the Cruel Prince?
What?
What did you give the Cruel Prince?
I think I gave it like a 3.5.
Oh, so it's not that bad then.
Yeah. No, it's not bad. I don't like Leah might agree. I don't like the relationship, the love interest. It's an enemies to lovers, but I don't think it's not successful to me. They feel like enemies the entire time to me.
Is it like to the point where they're literally like about to kill each other or something? Because that's what I've heard.
Kind of. He's extreme. I mean, it's the Cruel Prince. He's extremely cruel. Where you're like, you're gonna need
more of a redeemable.
Yeah, you're gonna need more of a redemption story for me to believe that you're. It's not like Resand, which towards the end of that book, which was probably a spoiler. Sorry.
And that's okay. Okay, I don't think that's a spoiler because I literally think in my reading vlog, before we even met Resand, I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to meet him and love it. Like, because you already kind of know just from seeing fan art and just being a person on the internet, you kind of already know about that.
Some kind of shift, Well, we all saw my little Google. I'll have to show it to you in a minute. Where I sent you guys a picture of like, Resand is a dick.
Read a ton of fae books. Favorite sentence. Yeah, so I feel like so I didn't read a lot when I was like in middle school. If I had that would have been the kind of thing I'd read, because like I definitely read those like I don't know if you have them in the US, but in the UK one of the biggest sort of series was like a fairy series where they all had like some so and so the something fairy. And like all the girls, not to like generalize or anything, but like in my class at least, all of us girls, we were like, oh, we're gonna find the book that has our name. So it was like a big thing. So I can imagine if
I feel like that was a thing. I feel like
maybe if I saw it. Yeah, I don't remember it, but maybe if I saw it. Flowerfield Reads, I I give you permission to do a fairy fae book recommendation video.
Oh my god, yes,
yes,
please.
definitely.
I would really like to read more fairy books.
Yeah, I would.
I just
too.
don't really know much out there, like what's out there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I literally feel like in this book, they're literally just humans with like pointy ears and powers. And that's about it.
Steph's just being relatable. Not to Hallie, but to everyone else.
Yeah, literally. A fantasy. I'm like, I have about 2 brain cells. So it's very hard for me to be able to like grasp very specific like concept.
I have a question for you. Was that not exactly what you said about your sister's
I
friend
did.
or whoever it was?
I mean,
you
listen,
questioned her if she had 2 brain cells, and now you're sitting there being like, I just have 2 brain cells.
I mean, I do, but my 2 brain cells say that Evelyn Hugo's an amazing butt.
Yes.
Her 2 brain cells.
Your 2 brain cells are just a bit more like up on the hierarchy.
Yeah.
Bigger brain cells.
No, I do actually have a question for people that tend to read fantasy. Do they just like being confused? Because I hear so many people that like, I love fantasy. I only read fantasy, but I don't understand any of it.
You do. Yeah. Most of the time, I'm just along for the ride. And because I'm very much into characters, and a lot of times I feel like fantasy does a pretty good job of having good characters and good character development. And so I'm here for it. But there are, I mean, like Legendborn. I love Legendborn, but Lord, those magic systems were like, what in the world is happening?
I think about 50% of Legendborn, I was still like, what?
Yeah. Let's just focus on the characters. That's going to be the best way to go.
So ACOTAR is definitely one for someone who hasn't read anything about fairy lore before.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, I have a note for our spoiler section about that, of some of the things that I thought were fairy lore and then turns out they're not, and I was real confused. So we'll get to that here in a second.
Oh, but yeah, I've got so many comments, I've got confused now. 1 star.
1 star. Oh no.
See, I'm not sure whether to read it or not now.
I was like thinking about maybe reading it, but I'm like, absolutely not.
Problematic.
Problematic phase. Yes, Nikki.
Leah and I have just started rewatching American Horror Story together in the 1st season. I don't know if you guys have seen it. First season, Tate. I mean, everyone loves him, but like, it's the most problematic thing, especially since Tate.
Oh yeah.
Everyone loves him. It's like he's a school shooter and he's a ghost and he shows someone how to like self-harm and everything, and then we're just like,
literally 1,000%. I'm like, he is the worst person ever, but I'm like, but why do I love you?
But is it Evan Peters we love?
Yeah, it is, because he did the same thing. He did the same thing in season 5. Was it Hotel, and he played a serial killer based off of one of the most prolific serial killers ever, H.H. Holmes, and like everyone loves him. It's like,
and you're like, Daddy, yes.
That's a whole. You and Lena need to do a American Horror Story live show. And I'll pop on and comment, because yes, I do like. I'm so weird. I do not like horror books or movies, but I will watch a horror TV show. I don't know why. I have no idea. It's like something psychological in me. I don't know why.
I think there's a lot of people. I've heard people be the same, where they just don't watch it in general. But I think it's the format or something. There's something about it that makes it not as like in your face. Maybe because it's a TV show, it's split over episodes, whereas in a film, it's like you've got 2 hours to just go. You're scared.
Yeah,
I agree.
This is my. Oh wait, where's it? Come on. Oh, it's stuck. There we go. Dad, if you're still watching, you can go away now. Thanks. Bye. I love you. Not exactly the book that he needs to hear about.
Yeah, you might not want to be here later when Sarah becomes some of her.
I know.
Yeah, it's her. Oh no, it's her. It's everything. It's nothing to do with me. I'm not doing anything bad. It's Sarah.
Yeah, she literally told me that she was gonna tell her dad that I was a bad influence, and I was like, "Listen, that's rude."
That's why he's watching. He's like,
I know. I'll be on my best behavior.
That's so funny.
Cardin's Redemption.
I agree.
Okay, I think I'm going to skip over the ones to do with the Cruel Prince, otherwise we're going to be sitting talking about...
Yeah. But I agree, Nikki.
Cruel Prince, goodbye. Great recommendations, definitely. You should, guys, if you haven't subscribed to Kimberly, go and do it, because she reads, I think, mostly fantasy. She's great.
And her aesthetic is just 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yes, my dad has arrived. Hopefully he's disappeared. That sounds so mean. I'm not that mean to my dad usually.
I'll add
Dark
Ooh.
Fever.
I've never heard of that one.
Always confusing at the beginning. Yeah, so it is one of those really fun ones where you feel confused and you get the sort of satisfaction of having figured it out towards the end. You're like, I don't understand the whole thing, but like I understand 10% of it. So like
that's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi Emily. Tate is awful, but Evan Peters is so hot. Not so much now, but like at the beginning of our American Horror Story, definitely.
Yes. In love with him. He is. He's very charismatic.
Yeah.
Because even if you actually just take his face and just look at it, he's not that actually attractive.
No.
You know,
It's
but
not
it's just him.
Yeah.
His vibe.
Yeah.
He's very charismatic, I think.
Yeah.
But they're just the best people.
Yeah.
Like charismatic people. That's that's
well, that's why they're all cult leaders.
Exactly. Cult leaders, serial killers, like honestly, serial killers are some of the most charismatic people because of like that's how they manage to be successful in what they do. Do you know what I mean? Like you wouldn't get around it any other way.
Yeah.
Never seen AHS, but always wanted to. You should
definitely watch it.
This is our what do you call it? Like your sign to watch it.
Yeah, watch it.
It's good.
It's so good.
Oh God, where have I gone now? Only horror shows.
Yep.
No movies or TV shows. Books.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Well, I feel like sometimes horror books, it's a little bit more difficult to feel actually scared. Because like if you watch a scary movie, they're giving you like jump scares and things popping out at you. Where like when you're reading, that's not really happening. I feel like it's more of just like a creepy, unsettling feeling.
Yes.
I
100%. Yeah.
I agree.
I think that's because like so you guys know I read a lot of Stephen King, and I don't think I've ever been genuinely scared whilst reading the books. Like it's that thing where it sort of plants a seed of scaredness in your brain. Like honestly, I'm an adult, and when I'm walking like in the rain and I see a drain, I'm just like gonna walk to the other side just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what Stephen King is good at.
Yeah. Good beginner X for horror.
You're trying to do a video.
Give us a video, Steph.
Do a video. I need to see it.
My dad.
Okay.
Oh my God, no!
My dad.
Wait, Selma, definitely not for you. Not for you, Selma.
This is a mature content video.
Although saying that, to be fair, like she's grown up around older siblings and like just I mean it's gotten to the point where as my parents' fourth child, they're like as much as they protect us and like they don't sort of like show us really horrible things, I think they've become a bit more like open, honest about like swearing and stuff like that. When I was young, if I had have sworn when I was young, I swear my dad would have been like, go to bed, and then my sister says it and it's just like ha ha ha.
It's very much a younger sister thing, a younger sibling thing.
I don't know what's cute. Dark Fate Urban Fantasy.
Ooh, that sounds so interesting. I'm about to put that on my Goodreads.
Yeah, let me get my Goodreads real quick.
That's a great setting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds so interesting.
I'm adding it to my Goodreads. I go ahead and do that.
Love some horror
Yes, Steph, give us the horror Rex.
Jump scares with music. See, this is why I'm not a fan of the more like modern horror films, because they put so much on jump scares. If you watch like more classic horror films, there's a lot more suspense.
Yeah.
Steph will be making a video very soon.
I can. We'd love to see it.
Looking forward to that. Sorry, someone says hi.
Hello.
Emily's the third child and she was swearing since she was 9. See, this is exactly the thing. Unless because we're like a quite like non-conservative family anyway, but it was sort of like started off with the first child. Obviously, you have to set an example. Don't swear. Don't like talk about crude things. And then it gets to the fourth one and it's just kind of like, I can't be bothered anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm the youngest sibling, and I remember my sister would always get upset because she would always say that I was able to get away with more things than she would. But yeah, I think it's because at that point, my parents were like, I'm over it. You're fine.
The other ones
oh.
are always raised differently because there's like quite a big age gap between me and my little brothers,
Mm-hmm.
and how they're being raised is so different. And I'm like, you never would have let me get away with that, like ever.
Yeah, there's also a lot to do with like what time. So like I was on the edge of like the people. Wait, I have a question. Can you hear like a feedback kind of noise? Because I can hear myself talking. I don't know whether to get headphones and connect them.
Sometimes I can, like when Sarah was talking, and I can hear it right now as I'm talking. I can hear a little bit of feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna get headphones once I've just. But I was sort of one of the lucky people that didn't grow up with an iPad in their hands.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I guess some of my siblings, like the other two, were more like out and about. But with the youngest one, because there's like a 6-year age gap between her and the one above her, she sort of grew up with an iPad.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's kind of what's been her thing. And I guess anyone that's grown up at the same kind of age as her, it's so different.
Yeah.
Right.
It's very different.
This is a really interesting question, seeing as you don't watch horror films.
I know. Okay, well, we'll answer this, then we need to get back to the point.
Yes. We'll move into our spoiler here.
I will answer it. I'll just say anything that's like 80s, really cheesy, like bad quality.
Slasher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
slasher is my favorite.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've seen a bunch of horror movies, but I can't really like name one that I'm like, this is my favorite. Because I tend to like to watch the bad ones because they're entertaining.
Yeah. I like psychological thrillers. Like Midsummer is.
Ooh, Midsummer was good.
Crazy. Yeah. And there was a one with Jennifer Lawrence. I think it was called Eve or something like that. That one was crazy too. So
I need to watch that.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to move into?
Yeah, let's go back on topic.
Back to ACOTAR. I'm sure that's how a lot of these live shows go. You just get off on different tangents.
Yeah,
but it's fun. It's fun. We love it.
Yeah.
Oh, those are my notes. My specific notes. So now we're going to move into spoilers. So if you have not read them, just know that's what we're about to do. So this is your warning that we are moving into spoilers. Oh no, where's my thing go?
No, Jennifer Aniston. wrong Jennifer. Wrong Jennifer.
So yeah, just for the
why you still her.
Just for the spoiler section, I just thought we could just kind of start talking about individual things that we noticed that stuck out to us. What we thought about the romances, which really in the first book, there's just the one main romance. So there's not really much else. And I was really interested.
Evan's leaving.
Oh. I was also interested in seeing what you guys thought at the end of the book, where she went through her trials and like Amarantha and kind of like that aspect. But yeah, any just specific things that popped out to you?
Yeah. Well, the whole book. Well, okay. I guess we could talk about the romance aspect a little bit first. I quite liked Tamlin in this first one. I don't think he was like my ideal love interest. I think he's like slightly boring. He needs a little bit more spice to him, besides just growling 24/7. But I did like him still. I think he was a likable character. I
liked Tamlin too. I thought he was a good character. I agree with you. He wasn't like knock my socks off, but I don't think he was a bad one either. We saw a really nice side of him. And then of course we get to the night of the rite, the Callan May, whatever that is. I was like, hello, Tamlin? Like, what are you doing?
Okay, I was actually dying when I first read that, because I was like, first of all, like, how does that make sense for you to be like, all right, bet we're gonna have a massive orgy and that's how we're all gonna get like stronger powers?
Yeah.
I'm like
okay,
it makes sense. Okay, but I was like, you know what? I'm on board. I'm not mad at it. Yeah. But yeah, that part was really interesting to me.
I was not mad of him. Yeah, I wasn't mad at it.
Yeah.
You just saw a different side of him, and you're like, oh, okay, you're not squeaky clean.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Say less.
Yeah. I thought that was that was kind of the first kind of spicier scene that we even
Yeah.
got. I feel like the first book and really the second, even though we're not really talking about the second, there's a lot of slow burn in
very slow burn.
You can definitely tell that that's what Mass is doing. She does not want to give too much away too quickly because I feel like sometimes when we get those smutty romance scenes and they're done, you're like, okay, unless you're going to reinvent the wheel, you're gonna have, you're gonna have to keep me interested.
Yeah.
So I think her tactic is, well, I'm not gonna give you anything until the very tail end of it all.
Yeah, she really said slow burn.
Yeah,
she really said that.
I just want to interject. Yes, when it comes to smut and stuff like that, but like, is it really slow burn if at the beginning of the book she's like, I hate fairies, and then at the end of the book she's literally risking her life to save someone?
That aspect was not slow burn. No.
Yeah.
I was thinking more of just like the smuttiness of it. But no, I think that gave me a bit of whiplash. I will say that it was like 1 second you hate them and the next second you're willing to die for them. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, yes, I do agree. It's obviously very much a complete 180. But at the same time, I feel like she just didn't like them out of ignorance and out of not ever being in contact with them, that I think once she actually got to know not even just Tamlin but like Lucian and just understanding a bit more about the fairies and literally living with them for months and months and months and seeing that these are not these terrible people, and then obviously ending up like falling in love with him, whatever, which I mean obviously that part isn't super slow burn either, but I feel like it makes sense because also it's not like she loved her family, wanted to care for her family, but like her family, they're all kind of assholes. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like she was living her best life with her family.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was like one of the things too, where she just kept wanting to go back to them. And Tamlin was like, they're being taken care of. I promise. And she's like, but I still have to go back. And I'm like, girl, like you are living the high life right now.
Yeah.
I told you they're going to be taken care of. They're living it up. Stop worrying. And they really didn't appreciate you from the beginning. So,
Yeah.
Leah didn't like Tamlin. See, I didn't like, if we're talking about relationship wise, I didn't like him. But it's also just that thing of, I understand it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but it's like, how much into depth do you have to go with the Beast character? Like, does it have to actually be physically sort of, taking on the, like physicalities, like the growling and everything? Like, is that really a necessity? When what you were talking about, Hallie, in your blog, the whole thing of like, it could be more of an inside representation, like with Feyre being more harsh towards Faye to begin with, and then sort of softening up afterwards.
Yeah, I did make that kind of connection that like Feyre is also in a way a beast as well because of her prejudices and her biases. Yeah, I agree. I don't think that they had to lay that part on so thick that like that literal animalistic.
Yeah.
You can be a beast and still be well, I guess they're fairies, they're not humans, but I thought the animalistic part was very heavy, and it's probably one part I wasn't a fan of on that one. But with what Leah says about Lucian and Feyre, I actually thought we were going to have like some kind of weird love triangle. Like that was my first thought, because I ended up loving Lucian. I still love him.
I love him so much.
Yeah. I want to see him happy.
I know. He's just a sweet baby angel. We stan him.
Yeah.
I just completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with the whole animalistic side of Tamlin, I honestly think not so much she was trying to have that go along with like the beast aspect of it. I literally just think that she thought that was going to be hot and attractive. Because in a lot of romances, if you read a lot of romances, there's so many, sometimes the love interest is like the alpha male, and very animalistic in nature because it's supposed to be this like hot dominance thing. And I feel like she was trying to make us be attracted to him because he was like beastly. And I was like, no.
Yeah. I've never understood that. Like, since when is hypermasculinity that attractive? Like, I feel like that's the idea that men have, that women are attracted to really masculine men. I think women would disagree with that.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
But you see it a lot in fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
especially YA fantasy. This isn't YA, but like you think of your Twilights of Edward, and, you know, that you know, I honestly, I think the older we get, the more that's like that, the less that's attractive. But like when I was 16, 17, would I have thought that was attractive? Yeah, I would have. I didn't know any better. I didn't know. Now I'm like, you know, the older you get, the more you just want the nice guy. Like that's just how you want it. Like it's simpler that way.
Literally.
But that doesn't, you know, that doesn't sell books. Just, you know.
Well, this was also written in 2015 as well. Yeah. You know, this isn't like, this is like a 2020 release.
Yeah.
Where I think now that is a bit more common in books now, to have the love interest be a little bit more of like the nice guy, or a little bit less alpha male, toxic masculinity type situation. So, yes, Lucian, we love to see it. Oh, Harry Styles, I'm obsessed.
Where were we? Agree with Leah.
Yeah.
See, this is Selma. Seriously, not a place for you right now. Please, I don't care if you've seen a horror movie. We'll talk about that later. Such as this is why we talk about the idea of people wanted to read about like a really masculine character, but I feel like just in general people like Lucian more. Or maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think you'd be right.
And he is more like a jokey sort of just nice person.
Yeah, he is.
Yes.
Harry Styles, 10 out of 10. We love him.
Yeah. Well, this is like completely off topic, but I think now too, like what I consider sexy in a male, and I don't know if I always see it in writing, and I would love to more, is a man that is comfortable with his sexuality, is comfortable with his masculinity. You know, I think like my husband will tell me who his man crushes are all the time. And we have some friends who are like, we have some guy friends who that makes them feel extremely uncomfortable. And I'm like, dude, come on.
Yeah.
Like, it's not cute. It's more attractive that you're just like, yeah, I have a man crush on this actor or this person. Like, that's cute. Like, I wish we could see that more in writing, because I actually find that comfortability in your masculinity much more attractive.
Well, the worst thing especially is when men feel that their masculinity is threatened by other people having different ways of expressing themselves. Like just because someone's gay or someone's gender neutral, someone sort of presents themselves in a more traditionally feminine way, it doesn't mean anything for you. So why are you so worried all of a sudden about people thinking, just because you're supporting someone else that presents themselves in that way, it doesn't reflect upon you. It just means you're a good person.
Yeah. Well, it's just like literally mind your own business. Like it's none of your concern if Harry Styles decides to wear a dress.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It literally has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
That is atrocious.
That's why I don't have Twitter.
Exactly. A crime. Literally a crime.
And then Leah says, "What?"
Yeah, I'm thoroughly confused as to like under what grounds would you hate Lucian? What grounds? I'm mad.
I think maybe the only reason I love Lucian, but I get frustrated with him, and you see it a bit more in the second book, but he does kind of follow Tamlin around, like not like a lapdog, but he's just so loyal to him.
Loyal. That's what I'm saying. But that's a good trait to have, though. Like I think because I know we're not talking about the second book, but yes, I agree. I think it happens more in the second book. But I think if you think about it, knowing his backstory and what Tamlin did for him, I think it makes more sense why he has such unwavering loyalty.
Yeah, but there are just times where I'm thinking, you know, this is wrong.
Yeah.
And you're seeing it, like he makes a face or he talks to Feyre, and I'm like, you know what he's doing is wrong.
Yeah.
And so that makes me more frustrated with him, but not where I dislike him.
Yeah. That makes me really upset by this comment. I don't want to see later on.
Yeah, I'm like, no.
I want to love him.
No.
but he's
Yeah.
wonderful for the most part. I think that for me, people are more endearing if they do bad things but are a good person in general, because like a character, like a real person isn't 100% good. So therefore a character, if you want someone to be as lovable as a real life person, should not be 100% good.
Oh yeah, I love imperfect characters.
Yeah,
I want to see imperfect characters.
Yeah.
I think Leah asked, how do we like Rhysand?
Oh yeah.
Now my next question is, how did you guys like Rhysand in the book? Or I'm more interested in, what did you guys think about Rhysand when he first appeared? Like, not necessarily what you thought about him towards the end of the, like by the end of the book, but like, what were your first initial reactions to him?
I feel like for me, it's difficult because I already knew going into the book series the situation with Rhysand, like at least like overarching, like with Feyre and like that whole thing. So I feel like I was a little bit biased when I first met him because I was like 1,000% he's a dick, like he's an asshole for sure. But also too, I wasn't so disgusted with him, and I wasn't thinking, oh, he's going to be an awful character, because I knew, you know what I mean? So obviously I didn't know to the extent, I didn't know specifics, but I was a little bit biased. But then I just thought it was fun because in my annotations, I was literally like writing things. I was like, yes, go get your mans, like this whole thing. So it was honestly entertaining to me in the beginning that he was so harsh and like evil, because it made it interesting, because I was like, okay, so then what are they going to do to make me start to like him?
Right. Exactly.
I mean, my knee-jerk reaction was just like, he was not a good person. Like, he was acting like an asshole. He was clearly doing it on purpose. It's not even a case of like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to act that way. Like, he was doing it on purpose, which obviously then led it on to what happened sort of later on. And it makes sense that he then was sort of pushing that sort of asshole exterior. But like, it's nice to have characters like that. It would be boring if all of them were nice. You have to have some like really sort of evil looking, or not even evil, just like not good people. You need to have them in there, even if it's not for like the long run, that they're like that. Just having something to sort of mix it up a bit.
Yeah, that more. The only thing I knew about Rhysand, again, like the only thing I ever knew about ACOTAR or any of it was just fan art that I saw. And there was one fan art that I saw with like Rhysand and a fairy, and I thought it was Nesta. So my first initial reaction was, wait, does Rhysand and Nesta get together? That's not what happens. Let me just tell you. Just spoil it right there. Wrong. And so I was kind of the same as you say. I was just like, okay, he seems awful, but I have a feeling that this is gonna go a different way. But how is he? What is his redemption arc? Because I feel like the more enemies to lovers books that I read, I need to know, is the redemption arc successful? Like going back to the Cruel Prince a little bit, that enemies to lovers redemption arc was not successful to me. So I was like, how are you going to convince me that Rhysand is actually a good character? And he really isn't good the entire time. Even towards the end when he starts helping her and all these things, like he's still kind of an asshole throughout. But I mean, but at the same time he's helping her. So it's like, there's gotta be some motive. I just don't see what it is. It's interesting, and I like that a lot.
I agree. I feel like for me, like talking about towards the end where he's helping her and everything, I think it was interesting because I feel like even though he was still being an asshole, I feel like it was more of he didn't know fully if he could trust her yet. So that's why he was still projecting this facade of, you know, I'm this big bad guy, you know, I'm like really mean and this scary kind of High Lord of the Night Court type of thing. But I feel like in a lot of even their interactions and a lot of the things he says, you could tell that he was very sincere and he's a very sincere person, and that he actually wanted to help her because he's a good person, you know?
And he also had to protect himself too. Like there was a certain level of like, I have to be this way because I have to protect myself and my motives and like my secrets. And so it's like, I may hate acting like this, but if I don't, everything's gonna come crashing down. So,
well, there was definitely like a tactical element to it, because if you think about it, he knew how much he could sort of like
portray. He didn't know if she could act in any way. So
Mhm.
if she had have caught on to the fact that he maybe wasn't quite the person that he was acting as if he was, but she couldn't sort of, because like some people are just terrible at keeping secrets. So he didn't know whether
Yeah.
she would then all of a sudden just start acting completely different towards him.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
And then obviously the big bad she would then catch onto it as well, and then it'd just be the end for all of them.
Yeah, I agree. I think he was trying to be very tactical about it.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to ask, just because this is reminding me of a specific scene. How did you guys feel about the scene where Tamlin takes her into the little room, whatever, and starts, you know, just being aggressive and growling?
Yeah.
And then like he comes in and kind of like makes Tamlin leave and then starts kissing her, right? He starts kissing her or something to pretend like it was him.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel about that whole scene?
Unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was like, oh, like, you know, this is the only chance that Tamlin's gonna get with her, and like it's like this little secret moment between them. Now, that's the thing that we don't see with Tamlin, is he is not as tactical as Rhysand. And yeah, he's just not as tactical. He's not as patient, and I don't know if I saw it unnecessary. I don't know. I didn't really have too much of a reaction to that one. Why, Sarah? Did you have a reaction?
For me, it made me upset that was what Tamlin decided to do. I'm like, you're literally watching this woman that you love being paraded around by a man you hate, and having her do these trials and basically be tortured. And the first thing you're gonna do is just like start making out with her and like try to do a whole thing. Like, are you not concerned about her? Like, are you not trying to just like have a little convo? Like, let's plan this out. What are we gonna do? And then it bothered me that once Rhysand like came and tried to, you know, cover it up, because obviously like that would be an issue because of the paint and everything. Feyre was mad at him. And I was like, but why are you mad at him? Because he's literally trying to help you right now, because you would literally be dead in an instant if Amarantha found out that Tamlin was doing that and you guys were being reckless.
Yeah.
I don't know. That scene for me stuck out. Like,
there's
I was just
a lot of times where Feyre gets mad at not just him, but just people. Like, there's just different characters she'll get mad at, and I'm like, girl, like, stop getting mad at everybody when they're trying to help you. Like, it is so frustrating.
Yeah, it really is.
I think it shows her age a lot as well. I mean, like, to be fair, so she's exactly the same age as me, and I'm like, I don't think that I would have reacted the same way, but then I'm very different to a lot of people my age. So like I could see that sort of when you're, especially because it just seems like she hasn't had that much life experience, despite the situation her family was in and that she had to sort of provide for them and hunt and stuff like that. It feels like that's very much her life, is just providing for her family. So she hasn't been out and sort of met different people and everything, which would have helped her a lot going into it. But obviously she wasn't aware that that was going to happen. So I think it does say a lot about the fact that she's young, naive, doesn't know what's going on. And I think teenagers have a bigger tendency to get angry at people for like small reasons than adults do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
What did you guys think of Feyre as a character, just as a whole?
I liked her. I just think for the most part, with so many stories of these female protagonists, they're very badass, and you know, they're like special and can fight and do all these crazy things without proper training. You know what I mean? They're just like all of a sudden these amazing fighters, and I feel like that's a lot of it in fantasy. And I like that Feyre definitely still had her flaws. Like, I think I feel like she was a really strong character.
See, this makes sense as well.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, that's right. I feel like she's jaded. You know what I mean? Like, she lived for years and years trying to provide for her family, make sure that her family does not die, and for them to not appreciate her. You know, they're very unappreciative of her. And I don't remember which one of you said it, but I know one of you said that it was like kind of annoying in the beginning. She was so whiny. I think it might have been you, Hallie. Yeah, that she was so whiny about it. But
slightly whiny.
Yeah, but I would have been that way too. I would have been like,
Sure.
fuck you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, I was
yeah.
fighting for you.
Yeah.
So I can understand that a little bit more. So I think this comment, I think that's totally true. I think she was jaded, and I think she is very untrusting of other people. And I think that's why she's probably a lot more not willing to accept help, or thinking like, I didn't need you to come save me type of thing.
Right.
Because I think she thinks, since she's survived so long based on her own wits and her own merit, she thinks, okay, well, I can handle this myself.
Yeah.
But she can't, you know? And that's why, but I liked it because it was nice to see that she still had her flaws. And even the trial where because she couldn't read, so she was like freaking out. She was like, I'm going to die because I don't know how to read. And she couldn't, read whatever riddle to like pull whichever lever. Like, I liked that scene a lot because it showed that she's not perfect,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I liked her as a character.
She was like the whole illiteracy line, kind of. I liked that for some reason. The fact that she couldn't read and write. I don't know why, but I like that. It just made her so human to me. That it is realistic that she is growing up in this time and all these things have happened. And I always would forget that she is the youngest of her siblings because she was such a caretaker and a provider for them. But she's actually the youngest. I kept thinking that Elaine was the youngest. And then it would kind of remind me. And so, yeah, for some reason, I just thought the illiteracy theme was, you just don't ever see that very much in books as people who, characters who can't read and write.
Yeah. Literally.
Forget them.
Family. I hated them so much. I didn't put it in my vlog because I think I just sounded like extremely aggressive. But I literally had a little rant clip of me ranting about Nesta and just what a massive bitch she was. Like, I was so angry at her. And I was like, you know what, Feyre, let your family die. Like, because they're not appreciative. No, I'm kidding. But
I want to see that.
Kidding, not kidding. I don't know if you want to.
It was the cut clip.
Yeah, it was the whole thing.
Make a bloopers reel.
Yeah, bloopers reel.
But yes, I completely agree.
What did you think of Nesta towards the end, though? Like when Feyre had to go back, because Nesta won me over. I was like, good. Like, you still have that edge on you. You're not like, oh, I'm nice now. I don't think she's ever going to be a wholly nice character, but she's showing that, like, oh, you actually care. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel like I'm warming up to her. I still think, for me, I'm just like, I get it. I know people deal with things very differently, and her reaction to, the family losing their wealth and losing their mother and everything was to put up these walls. But at the same time, it's like, you will literally die if your sister does not hunt and give you food. Yeah. So don't be a bitch. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like she could be standoffish and she could still be this kind of hard-headed character without being so rude.
She was pretty awful in the beginning.
She was really bad.
Pretty awful.
I feel like when we get to that scene where she's like, oh, yeah, I went to the wall and I tried to look for you and all that, I feel like it was kind of like a 180 for me too. I was like, okay, so then why are you so rude to her? But I mean, I definitely was warming up to her. And then, I feel like I will like her by the end of the series.
I agree. I did really like Nesta at the end. We see I won't go into the second book, but like, I think she's going to be one of my favorite characters. I know. So all I knew about Nesta, again, through fan art and social media, was that she was just a bigger part later in the books. And I just was like, how? Like, that's all I want to know. Like, the weird thing is I used to always see Nesta's name, but I would never see Elaine's name. So I was like, is Elaine going to die? Like, because I never see her mentioned in social media posts, but she's kind of the boring sister. She's like the sweet little,
nice.
Yeah, like, you're too nice. Like, And so I didn't really have anything to think about with Elaine. She was just that sweet sister, which is why I thought she was the youngest.
Yeah.
I feel like it would have made more. I wonder why Mass made Feyre the youngest, because it would make more sense to me to put her as the middle child and Elaine as the youngest.
I feel like it was probably just to have us see that the two older sisters acted the way they did in the beginning because they probably like lived a longer life in the
They
world,
remember growing up wealthy,
and they were more, I think, because how old was she? Wasn't she like 10 or 11 when she first started hunting?
About
they lost their wealth when she was like 8 years old or something, and then for a couple years they were okay, and then they started like everything kind of went shit. But yeah, so I feel like that's probably why she did it. Yeah. Because then Feyre was the one who like picked it up and was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go provide for my family and do what I need to do to survive, while the rest of them were just sitting around.
Yeah.
Being assholes, you know?
Yeah. I thought it was interesting too that their mom was not a nice person. Like we don't ever see her, but like that's how she talks about her, is that her mom was very cold. Which is very like a lot of times in fantasy, the dead mother is always portrayed as this kind, wonderful woman. But here the mother is not kind and not wonderful. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting decision as well.
I agree.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Nesta, Chloe?
I feel like I'm going to really like her because from what we've got so far, she kind of reminds me of myself in the sense that like sometimes I like to come off as not liking people just because it's just easier to be like, I'm not interested. When really she clearly does love her family. And to be fair, I'm not like that with my family, but towards a lot of people, I can be a bit like, I don't want to talk to you. Just to kind of protect myself and not have to put as much effort in. But I do think I like her, and I think those kind of characters are usually the most interesting.
Yeah,
for me
I agree. Yeah, I feel like she's gonna get a really good character arc.
Yeah,
ooh,
she does like has a lot of depth.
Leah, can you remind me how far are you into the series? I think is she completely done?
I don't know if she's read ACOTAR, but I can't be asked to say the whole thing.
All of them have names except that one.
I know. I'm so mad about it. I'm like, keep it going. Come on.
I'm happy to say ACOTAR. I think it sounds great. No, I read the first 3 books.
Okay,
that's what I thought it was. And then she's rereading ACOTAR at the moment, but she didn't quite finish it.
Yeah, I just bought I mean, obviously, I haven't started Wings and Ruin yet. I just bought Frost and Starlight yesterday, and I was so relieved that it's so short. I was like, oh, thank God.
I think it's a novella.
I was like, because it's a little novella, yeah. So I was like, oh, good. It's not going to take me that long at all to get through it. But it's like, these chunky books are killing me.
I know.
I'm reading Jade City, too, and I'm like, these are chunky books.
Literally, I got this from, like, my little shelf, and because I've been reading ACOMAF, and ACOMAF is literally ginormous. Yeah. And so I grabbed this and I said, wow, this is so small. Yeah. It's so tiny compared. Yeah.
Chloe, when are you going to start the second one?
I'm thinking at the beginning of next month, just because like I want to have at least a bit of like a fresh memory of it. Because was it like it was a couple of weeks ago that I read ACOTAR. And that's sort of like I can still remember parts of it. Yeah. So I feel like if I read it too early, then I just completely forget. But are you going to start ACOTAR soon then, Hallie?
Yeah, just because of the way I'm doing my vlogs. I'm trying to do them back to back. And like I said before, I'm one of those people that like if I'm going to start a series, I've got to read them back to back to back, or else I won't forget. Like if I waited a month to read ACOMAF, I probably wouldn't remember anything that happened in ACOTAR. Yeah. I've continued making notes, and I'll probably I'll probably watch my vlog again as we get closer to the next one to like remember some things.
And to be fair, I think it's safe for you to do that kind of thing because you take the notes, whereas I just don't.
Yeah. Well, I only take notes if I'm doing something like this, vlogs or live shows. Yeah. Like normally, I don't know. It's so nice to like not have to do that with every single book. That's why I don't do that for every single thing I'm reading. Yeah. And so right now I finally got into a book that like, I don't have to make any notes for, which by the way, is this one.
That's what I'm reading right now. Oh my God. I'm so excited.
I just started last night, so I'm not that far in, but it's just so nice to read a book and like, I'm not going to take any notes. I'm just going to enjoy it for what it is. and this is supposed to be
Hallie,
super lighthearted. So
10 out of 10.
yes, I'm excited.
10 out of 10.
It's already really, I won't go too much into it because we were on ACOTAR, but
Yeah.
I can already tell how quirky and like cute it is. Like it's just very quirky already.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I could see this. I think, did you, in one of your videos, the video that you made, because I was thinking about you when I started it, in one of your videos, you did like books that you'd like to see turned into like shows and movies. You added that one, right?
Yes, I did.
And I completely agree. And I'm only in chapter like 3, and I'm like, this would be a great movie.
Yeah,
it would. I already want to see it.
Yeah. Amazing. I'm like, cast me as what is it? I don't know who writes shit.
Yeah.
Who decides what movies are made?
Yeah.
I just producer. Let me produce all these movies. Yeah. I'm like,
cast me as producer.
Yeah.
Chloe, have you read it?
In the role of producer. No, I haven't, and I really want to, but because it's published by Tor, isn't it? I think so. I think it's Tor, because I've heard a lot about Tor is more expensive to get sort of in Europe and the UK and stuff like that. So I think for me it's just that bit more expensive, but I think when my birthday comes around I might buy it for myself.
Yeah. It's so good.
Yeah.
You guys
I've heard so much about it.
But yeah. I'm looking at my notes.
Yeah.
If you have anything else to add while I'm going through here. I will say one of the things I knew, again, going into the series, that like there's a lot of characters that are being introduced. And so I was appreciative that like we're kind of slowly getting introduced to the characters and not just like everybody at once.
Yeah.
I feel like that I've read books like that and it's just completely like too much. So I'm glad that we are being introduced to them slowly, but sure.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I was gonna say literally Jade City. Yeah, but I completely agree. I was really happy that because I think it's important too in the first book, like when you're trying to world build and when you're trying to introduce us to this entire world, but then you're also introducing us to 10 million characters. It's like, how am I supposed to keep that straight? So I do like that a majority of this book is like 3 characters. It's literally like Lucian, Tamlin, and Feyre, and that's it basically until the end. So yeah, I have to agree. I really enjoyed that part.
Yeah.
And then it was nice because it never seemed boring.
Yeah, you get space to like develop the relationship between the characters as well, which makes it a lot more interesting when new characters come in and sort of shake up the relationships. Whereas if it was kind of like, right, we've got these 2 people and they've met, but then this other person comes and like shakes it up and something. If it's in the space of 1 book, it's a bit like I didn't really have a connection to that one relationship, so why would I be bothered that it gets broken up so soon?
Right. Right.
I completely agree.
What did you guys think about the ominous she that we kept hearing about throughout the whole book? Because I was like, who the heck is this she?
I marked, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. I literally marked, I think it was when that fairy came in with its wings clipped.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, she took my wings. She took my wings. Yeah. I literally wrote down, I said, who is she?
Yes.
Because everyone just kept talking about she. And I was like, and I think that was really smart. I really liked the way they did that. Because it made me very intrigued, and I was like, I need to find out who this person is.
And we knew she was already horrible.
Yeah.
If that was our first introduction, one of our first introductions to who she is, without even seeing her, that was clever to me.
Yeah, I really liked that. And then she was terrible.
Yeah.
So it made a lot of sense.
And she has such an interesting backstory. Like, I wouldn't mind reading like a little novella about her, because I mean, I have to remember what I read, because I think she's always been evil, but she obviously loved her sister. So like, she's obviously not just evil for the sake of being evil. I don't like characters who are just evil for the sake of it. I want you to have a good backstory of why you've turned to the dark side. And I would just be so interested in knowing like her story up until this point.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, that's why I think even though she was such a terrible character, I think she was still also a very well-written character. Like, I think she was a really good kind of villain for the story.
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed her.
I did as well. I wasn't actually, like, whilst I was reading it, I see this is one of the things where I differ, like, vastly from a lot of other readers, especially on BookTube. I don't have those sort of reactions of like, oh my god, I really want to find out and who is this person. I think I've gotten to a point in my life where if I don't understand something, I'm just like, oh, that's just the way it is. So like I genuinely, it was like I knew I was going to find out, so I wasn't too anxious about finding out about it. But like retrospectively, what you guys are talking about, how clever it is, especially just that sort of going in with a bang, being like, this is what she's capable of, and we don't even know, like, all we know is it's a she, but we don't know what she is, who she is, where she is.
Right.
And having faith and as the voice being like, oh, who is this, and trying to sort of put ideas together of who it could be. It's just really clever.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Because it's like, especially to do such terrible things, like, unless you're literally just an insane sociopath or psychopath, like, there's a reason for you to be evil. And even then, a lot of sociopaths had really traumatic childhoods and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it's like there's always a reason. So it's like when you're evil just for like the haha, I want to be evil, it makes no sense.
Yeah, I heard someone, like, I was reading Sorcery of Thorns, and someone's criticism of the villain, like, it was that, like, it just seemed like that, you know, twirly mustache villain, like, oh, I'm gonna cause trouble. But like, what is the depth there? Like, what's the depth of your villainy?
Exactly.
I love characters, and Amaranth is not like this, but I do love characters in movies, books that are doing it for the greater good. Like Avengers, you know, you've got Thanos, who's like, I'm literally doing this for the greater good of humanity. But the problem is I'm not giving anyone else an option. That's where it was problematic. It was like, you're not seeing if anyone else wants it this way. So I love villains that have their reasons, and they actually think that this is what's best for everybody. Now, Amaranth is not like that. She just wants power. She wants revenge. But I do like that.
Well, I personally have never believed in the concept of evil. I think because it's very much like, for Western people, it's very much rooted in Christianity, that idea of like God versus the devil, right? And I'm not religious, so I've never believed in the idea of someone being able to be evil, because for me, evil kind of feels like it's a bit of a weird way to say it, like a pure thing, like it's concentrated badness, like there isn't anything else there. And I don't think anyone is like that. And there's definitely always a reason for why people do things. And I think maybe if you're someone that only reads fantasy, you can sort of get away with the concept of evil a bit more. But for me, who also reads like thrillers and more contemporary stuff, I'm like always go into it aware that like people have a reason for doing what they do. So if someone just comes across and is like, yeah, I'm just evil, then I'm like, I don't believe you. Like, there's always a reason.
I completely agree.
Just finished rereading it.
Welcome.
Hello, welcome.
Tell us what you thought about it.
Always morally grey, morally grey characters just in general, whether they're like villains or like the main protagonists. Like, so what's it called? The one by Donna Tartt, The Secret History.
Oh, Secret History.
Like, that's sort of the perfect example of it. And just characters like who are just human beings and who do bad things. And obviously for books and for TV shows and movies, it's going to be exaggerated. It's not everyone that walks around and has killed someone, but it's just that example, like sort of exaggerating it to make it interesting enough for people to be able to reflect upon it and be like, actually, human beings are flawed. Like, you can't find a human being that hasn't done something bad in their life.
I completely agree. I love morally great characters.
I do too, especially a protagonist that is.
Well, it's just complex, and it makes it so much more interesting, and like that, it makes it just so much more realistic. Because nobody is 100% good or 100% bad. You know?
Thanos, not Thor. And then on the same wavelength. Oh, and just a little
recap.
Like,
We did talk about that. We all, what did we say? Sarah, I think you said it best.
I don't remember what we said. No, I think, in the beginning we were a bit more, obviously when we first meet him, he's very aggressive, you could say, and definitely a bit of a dick for sure.
A bit.
But he, a lot of it. But he definitely, towards the end, I think, kind of redeems himself a little bit more, but not even fully, because he's still very standoffish and still very
tactical
and kind of cruel still in like the things that he says and how he acts. But
yeah, I think we talked about like how we all kind of knew that he was going to have some kind of redemption character arc. Like we didn't think he was going to be wholly bad. We kind of knew, we kind of got spoiled from that from social media.
Yeah.
And we just didn't know how and like what that story was going to be. And yeah, even towards the end, he's still, you know, I think we talked about more like he has to be that way right now because of him trying to protect what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
And then you see a ton more of that in the second book.
Yeah.
Which we won't go into.
I know.
Next time. But
I know. Our next live show, we'll talk all about that. Because I already got some opinions about that. But I love him. I loved him even at the end of the first book. Like, because I still, even though he had this kind of facade, I saw right through it. And I was like, baby, I love you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Baby, I love you.
Yeah. Loved him.
Yeah. I made a note, and I think Chloe talked about this earlier, about kind of Feyre warming up to everything so quickly. Like, you hated Faye, and then all of a sudden you didn't. And I kind of had that question there in my notes of like, how long has she been here? Because that's the one thing I have to remember too, is like, you know, the writing, you know, you have to make it clear how long they've been here. I'm not expecting you to take us through day by day for like 4 months, because that's a lot. But like, I can understand more of like, oh, she's been there for months. Okay, I get it. Yeah. But like, for example, in Legendborn, everything happened so fast.
Yeah.
Within a month of everything happening. And I was like, whoa. But with this, I think she's been there for quite a while.
Yeah, I think so.
Max is just kind of skimming over how long she's been there. And she kind of mentions it. But yeah, I definitely had that feeling of like, man, she changed her mind real quickly. Like,
yeah. I think well, I was just gonna say, I think that she is there for, I want to say, at least like 4 months, because I know in ACOMAF it takes place 3 months after everything happens under the mountain, and she talks about how like the winter solstice passed, which was her birthday, and then the whole like orgy situation happens in the summer. So I think it's like a good chunk of time that she's there.
Okay, I just wasn't picking up on that. I literally read it as a couple of months. I was like, 2 months, like what? But
yeah, I want to say it was like 4 or 5 months. I feel.
Okay, well that makes more sense. Next time, maybe I should like start reading books and actually pay attention to like the times that things happen, and not just be like, oh my god, it went so fast. Yeah, that's just because I read it fast.
Yeah, well, it's very in passing, like, because she'll write, oh, a couple, like 2 weeks passed and blah blah blah, or like weeks passed.
Yeah.
So like that's what she writes. So she's not very clear.
Yeah.
But just from me thinking about what happens in the book and what's mentioned, I believe.
Yeah.
It's a couple months like that.
Yeah.
Ooh, Kim's talking about the other Bat Boys. Listen, we're not going to talk about that fully, but I just 10 out of 10. I'm loving ACOMAF so far. Love me my Illyrians.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
I don't want to say
that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah.
I can't say anymore, otherwise I'll kick you guys off.
I know.
No, we won't.
Yeah, we won't.
Something that totally threw me off, and it may not have thrown you guys off, but I'm only comparing it to my experience. Again, reading The Cruel Prince, only other fairy lore I've ever read. I was so thrown off because I've always heard the lore that like fairies can't lie, and then all of a sudden Lucian's telling them, oh, actually, no, we can. And I'm like, wait a minute. So did Mass just completely like cancel a traditional fairy stereotype that fairies can't lie? Or am I getting it wrong? And that's more for the people in the chat, because I need you guys to tell me if that is normal or not. Is that in other Fae books, basically?
I think Kim mentioned it before that like ACOTAR is just not the one if you want to learn about fairy lore. Like she really went on her own journey with it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I said, the only thing that I've even read remotely that has like fairies in it is like the Shadowhunter books, and in that one they can't lie. So, but I actually wish she would have kept that, because the thing, like, for example, in the Shadowhunter books, it makes the fairies more interesting because they can't lie, so they're a lot more tricky. You know,
Yeah.
they kind of
They're
can weasel
tricksters.
their way around things
Yeah.
because they can't lie. So I actually wish she would have kept that part in here, because I think it would have been very interesting too, with the whole aspect of the curse, you know, with the masks and everything, and how he, you know, needed to fall in love and all that. I think it would have made that a lot more interesting, rather than him just outright lying about, oh, there's a blight, and oh, you know, you killed Andros and it's a part of this treaty. You know what I mean? Like, I think it would have made it a lot more interesting if they kind of had to like weasel their way around that situation.
Yeah, I think it's ironic that there was a curse that made them all wear masks.
Yeah, because I was trying to put the masks in my head. I'm like, what? I'm trying to see what these masks look like, and I could not, for the life of me. I had to go look at fan art just so that I could get an idea of what these masks are supposed to look like on them.
Yeah.
For me, the whole mask thing sort of reminded me of the live action Beauty and the Beast, where it's all very sort of, I guess, Regency era kind of like masquerade balls and stuff like that. And I guess it's that, like, obviously because it's a curse, and with Beauty and the Beast, like, they actually change into objects or a beast or something like that. Whereas here they haven't changed into objects, they're still themselves, but they have the mask as that symbol of something.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Speaking about this curse, so when I was looking through my annotations, I was back on the chapter when Tamlin first comes to Feyre's cottage to come claim her. And I was just laughing because it's actually so dramatic. Like for you already knowing, well, now that I've read it and I know that whole treaty business, this whole an eye for an eye kind of thing was not true, and it was his intention from the beginning to just take her back and like try to make her fall in love with him. It was hilarious because he's like screaming murderers, and it's like so dramatic. I'm like, Tamlin, for what?
Yeah, I don't think you needed that. Like, go in there angry, sure, because you probably don't want to give it away that you're like, hey, you killed someone that I know. Come on. But yeah, I think that's more for the audience than anything else because it threw us off completely.
Yeah.
I think that was probably just audience. Like I agree. Because I was like, that was
I just think looking back on it now that I know what the actual situation was, I was like, okay, Tamlin, putting on a show. You want an Oscar, good job.
Well, maybe he fancies himself a bit of a thespian. He just wanted to see like how far he could go, how believable it could be. And to be fair, people like this is completely irrelevant, but people tend to have the idea that if you exaggerate yourself when you're acting, that you're better, which is completely a lie, because the most sort of subtle stuff is the best. But maybe he was just like, I'm going to push it as much as I can and see how much
he really went for it.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to translate really well, because is it a TV show or a film they're doing?
It's a TV show.
Yeah, it's going to translate. If they keep that scene the way it is, it will translate really well, because it will just be that kind of thing of like really in your face.
Yeah.
Some of the times I'm reading the book, I'm like, I wonder how they're going to do this, because it seems a bit ridiculous. So I wonder how they're going to translate it. I think the mask thing was, I get trying to have something to symbolize the curse.
Yeah.
But I just thought the mask thing threw me off a little bit. I thought it was kind of odd. Have something else. Like, I get needing something to show something's off. Just, why did it have to be masks? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it would be creepy to me. Like, I wouldn't be falling in love with anyone. I'd be like, ooh, Yeah. Oh,
yes,
I agree with
they're doing a show.
The one before, though, that she would love to see a short story of that night. I agree, because I'm kind of upset because they didn't really get a actual kind of scene like in Beauty and the Beast with like the big little dance number and everything. Did they get any kind of scene like that either? I feel like they should have done a masquerade when she was there.
They had their parties.
Yeah.
They had
There were parties where she kept drinking and like blacking out, which was
Yeah, but that was under the mountain, wasn't it? So
yeah. Oh, you mean
I mean like as a part of their kind of like love story,
yes,
since it's a retelling. Because yeah, I love a good masquerade scene as well. I would have just loved this like really cute moment. Because I feel like that's the thing too, kind of going back to the romance a little bit. I didn't think the romance was that strong because I feel like there wasn't too many moments of me being like, oh, this is really cute. I'm really into this.
Yeah.
They had their little kind of moments of them talking a little bit more in depth and getting a little bit deeper, but I just was not believing that they were like in love, you know?
Yeah.
In lust, I think that's the thing.
Lust.
I think it's more like an infatuation.
Yeah. And that brings me to my question of Sarah mostly is how would you rate the smut in this book?
Oh, atrocious. Literally.
Not even a number. Not even like a 1 out of 10. It's atrocious.
Atrocious.
Is it just because it took forever to get there or that it just wasn't, there was no payoff?
I think both, quite honestly. I think it, you know, it's really the growling that I can't get behind because like I've read plenty of smutty books, you know, like I read romances. I love me some good smut. But it was funny. Like, and that's the thing too. Like, I shouldn't be reading smut and be laughing. I should be reading it and being like, ooh, tea, ooh, okay, you know what I mean? But like, I was literally reading it and I was like, what the fuck is because so much ripping to ribbons.
The ribbons.
You know, just so much ribbons. And I'm like, these are good clothing. Do not ruin the clothing. Come on. Like, so I would rate it like a 3.
Yeah.
I wasn't into it.
Yeah. It didn't happen. I mean, one, I don't necessarily need like every single chapter to have a smut scene in it.
Yeah.
You just get too much and you're like, okay, we get it. You're just having smut for smut's sake.
Yeah.
A slow burn is the best for me because it's like, okay, now we see why you put the smut in there because you've built up to this. And I don't think there was a lot of slow burn build up. I mean, you got that little the right night, which I actually kind of liked.
I like that. I like that
family, and like I was a fan of that one, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I like that one.
Saw a different side of him that I was like, okay, like I like
there's
that.
A spice.
That's probably the only like, and it wasn't even a smut scene. It was just like this kind of very like tension scene that I was like, okay, I can get on board with that. But then like later on, it was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's what they needed. I think they needed more tension like that. Because yes, I agree. I don't need smut in every single scene. I don't need it to be this like really like I don't need to be reading a fantasy erotica. You know what I mean? Like that's not what I want. But it's like I want at least for like that tension to be built and maybe have a little bit like a couple more scenes sprinkled throughout that were similar to that scene of the right, you know, like it doesn't have to be full blown like smut, but just some sort of tension because then it makes the payoff so much better when you actually get the smut, you know?
Yes.
So how do you feel about that, Chloe?
I mean, the only way I can rate it is on a scale of 1 to 10 how uncomfortable I felt, and I would say that it was I mean, the thing is, it's a bit out of like context, or not out of context. It's a bit unfair because there's the growling element. If I took that away, then I wasn't really that uncomfortable. But like you add the growling, and it's like, of course, I'm going to be uncomfortable. The thing about that whole scene at the end of the right is, I feel like Lucian was just like, you need to stay away, otherwise he's going to take advantage of you. Which I didn't like that because that's basically saying that you being in the room puts yourself at danger, which should never be the case. But taking into consideration the fact that it's written in 2015, it's in very many ways a product of its time. It kind of makes sense that was the way. But if it was written today, like I would hope that she would change that around because I don't like agree with that at all, telling a woman that her being somewhere is dangerous. Even if there's a curse and he is a beast or whatever, it's still never all right.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's what my reaction was when he first said that. I was like, okay, so she needs to be. I agree. I firmly agree.
We're not going to complain about the smut. Like,
no complaints. I would have been thoroughly upset if there was no smut in this. So we love to see it.
Emily.
I don't know if I'll be able to learn to be into that. Well, like I've noticed with Recent too. Now Recent is like a purr. Like he purrs.
Yeah.
And like I'm just like, what's up with that? Like I just think
they're all doing something.
They're all doing something. But But yes, when I first read that scene, I was like, okay, so they need to lock her away so he doesn't like sexually assault her. Like that's kind of weird. But I think the way that they ended up doing it and how it ended up happening, I don't think was very, like, I don't think it was bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think he came and like took
extreme
advantage
it was just
of her.
like not even flirtatious, but again, that tension that
exactly.
I don't want to see. And you saw her stick up for herself and slap.
Yeah, she slapped him.
You know,
listen, she was into it, and I was like, oh.
You're like, you're into it, but you hate that you're into it. And I love that. I love that you don't want to be into it as much as you are.
Yeah. It was 10 out of 10. That's so funny. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Leah, literally. Hallie, do you want to share?
Oh my god, what happened? What?
I need to look. I came in. I'd have to scroll through our conversation.
Why can't I remember it?
I told
Hallie, do you have something to share?
I told Sarah and Chloe, I think it was in our group chat.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm reading these growling scenes and I'm trying to growl like in a very sensual way to kind of like understand, because like who growls during this?
Yeah. I was like, I can just picture.
And Sarah goes, oh, and your husband came in and said, say this.
And so I was like, while she's growling, your husband's like, say less.
What you doing? Yeah. And then, I can't remember we had a whole conversation about him, and that would probably embarrass him if we continued that.
It's so funny. But no, I think if someone growled at me in real life, like I couldn't laugh. Seriously, I would laugh.
I would laugh.
It would kill the moment.
What are you doing?
Yeah, I would literally be like, are you choking? Are you
you choking?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
confused. Yeah.
I'm just trying. I mean, a purr, maybe.
Okay, but describe a purr.
But that's a cat.
Like, again, it's the same thing. I'm like, how would I purr though?
I'm just saying, if a cat purred, you wouldn't be like, ooh, towards the cat, would you? Like, if a human purrs, that's even weird, because it's like, how did that come out of you? Like, that's not normal.
Yeah. I feel like when she uses the descriptors, at least the purring, I don't think I've seen any purring that was not like a dialogue. You know, it was a piece of dialogue and it said recent purred. So I feel like it's more of just the way he's speaking.
Yeah.
But like Tamlin actually growls. Like it's not like he's speaking and growling. I mean, he does that as well. Yeah. But he just like, that's weird. Like a growl, the ribbons, I would be like, you're literally a weirdo. Yeah, get out.
Get out.
Literally get out.
Well, I'm just like, why can't someone's sexy voice thing be words of affirmation? Like, I mean, why does it have to be some animal thing? Why are animals sexy? Bestiality? I know it's Beauty and the Beast, but you don't need to go all the way.
Yeah, you don't. I'm like, tell me I'm pretty. Say nice things to me, compliment my personality.
Yes.
I think the real question is whether the person actually has a partner, because like I couldn't imagine if that's their standards, then maybe
I feel like it's probably what they're not getting. You know what I mean? So like if Sarah J. Maas is married, her husband probably doesn't growl at her.
And like a manuscript of like, here you go, read this is what I want you to do.
Yeah.
This leads me to a question, because so Game of Thrones obviously has a lot of smutty scenes in it.
Yeah.
But I do not like them because I know who the author is. George R.R. Martin is this older, bigger man, and I don't want to read sex scenes that he's written.
Yeah.
I don't know. I always feel way more comfortable reading sex scenes from a female author as a woman. Because they're a woman. They know what they're doing. I mean, not that men don't, but it's just like, when you're describing other women, I'd rather see a woman doing it. So, I mean, for the most, you know what I mean? Like for the most part.
I agree. Well, because I feel like for the most part, like when men, like it just seems ick when they write sex scenes. You know, I'm just like,
Yeah.
Like it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I'm like,
Yeah.
and I don't know why. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, I think it's just, I don't know. But
I think I think for me personally, it's that thing of like, it feels almost like if it's a man writing it, that they're hypersexualizing a woman, which we all know is wrong.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's difficult
annoying.
to, it's annoying.
So
It's wrong and annoying in real life, but then when it comes to books, it's kind of like, obviously, it's a part of life. So it shouldn't, we shouldn't say to male authors or men authors that they shouldn't be allowed to do that. But at the same time, it's difficult to separate it, because I'm exactly the same with Stephen King. It's like he's a 70-year-old man. Like I don't, when I read those scenes, I'm like,
Yeah. I'm definitely not saying that like men do a bad job of it. I think many probably do, and like really, the scenes in Game of Thrones are pretty good. Like they're not badly written. It's just the fact that I know who the author is, and that's what takes me out of it. It has nothing to do with his writing style, how he describes things. It's just more of, I know who's writing.
Well, yeah, you're just picturing like this old man, like like writing these like scenes.
Which I'm sure he's not doing that. Like I don't want to assume things. But.
No, but I completely understand. Oh, that's juicy. She drinks wine when she writes that. I mean, that makes sense. Isn't wine like an aphrodisiac? I feel like I've heard that.
I think any alcohol.
Probably.
Yeah. So I feel like that makes sense to me. You know, loosen up a bit.
Yeah.
That's so.
I went online and it may have been Sarah J. Maas. It may have been her, but I just wanted to know like how do authors construct sex scenes? Just from a technical standpoint, I wanted to know how they do those, and I typed that into YouTube, and I think Sarah J. Maas has a YouTube video where she discusses her technique.
I'm dead. I need to watch that. I need to watch that.
Not for the smutty reasons, but
we should watch that together.
Yeah, like as someone who wants to write, like how do you sit down and write those scenes? Like how do you tackle that?
1,000%.
So I didn't watch it, but it's on my like little saved list. I need to go back and watch it, but I just want to know like the technical aspects of that.
Yeah, well, because it's so true. Like as someone who reads a good amount of romance with smutty scenes in it, I've read scenes that I'm like, oh my God, love this, like juicy, 10 out of 10. And then I've read scenes that I'm like, that is so cringe. And like the stuff that they say to each other, I'm like, if someone said that to me, it would like completely take me out. Like, don't be a weirdo. Oh my God, your mom is a romance author?
I wouldn't be able to look at my mom if I knew that.
Honestly,
I would not be able to. But like I agree with that. Like I can imagine it's a science, because you think like sex is obviously such a personal thing and it varies from person to person. So it's the case of, how do I make this feel personal for the readers when they're reading it, so that they sort of connect to it, but at the same time, how do I generalize it enough so that it doesn't exclude certain people?
Right. I'm dead. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Listen, I was going to say, we literally have been shitting on the growling, but clearly we're not doing something right.
Right.
But no, I'm not reading it for the growling. I'm just saying I'm reading it despite the growling. Like, she's not getting money because I like the growling.
Yeah. I just ignore that part.
I'm done.
Oh, no, I really wouldn't.
I don't know if I would be able to beta read my mom's smut scenes, but like that's juicy. 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
I mean that's a good relationship with your mom.
Yeah,
like, honestly, to be able to do that.
Oh my God, stop, Nick.
What the hell is this?
I'm dead. I think it's so funny because I feel like Sarah J. Maas, when she writes her smutty scenes, it's like they're smutty, but she always uses like euphemisms for body parts and for things like that, and it's just like her center, you know, like he was in my center, like it's just I'm like, just say it, just say the word. Like,
oh no, she loves to say the sword in the sheath.
I'm like,
oh my God, I can't.
I'm like, I am confused. Like, I'm like, because for me, I'm like, if you're writing a smut scene and you're doing full on, like, you know, not fade to black, you're doing a full on smut scene, just commit. You know, commit. We're all adults here. We have one of these body parts, you know what I mean? So it's like, just commit. That's hilarious. Member, yes, his member. Stop. Oh, fuck. I think it's an Akamath. Oh my God. There's literally, can I just.
Well, is it going to spoil?
It's
No,
not a
it's not gonna
spoiler.
spoil. It's just some
No.
random thing.
I
It's
don't
not a
remember
spoiler.
this.
Oh, and
But it's 20 pages in, okay? He says, I literally marked it as yellow because I laughed, and yellow is me when I laugh. And it literally said, I bit my bottom lip as he removed his pants along with his undergarments, revealing the proud, thick length of him. Proud length. I was like, I cackled. I was cackling. I was like, proud. I was like, you know what? Go get your man, sis. We love that for you. We love that you have a man with a proud length. I was like,
it's just funny the way that it's written, because you would think it would be that he was proud, but no, it's the actual length that's proud.
yeah, I was gonna say
It's proud of
like,
itself.
He was proud, you know what I mean? Like, I literally was dying laughing.
Oh,
Exactly.
man.
That's why I'm like, literally just spell it out for me, because I'm like, I can't. I actually can't.
Which Sarah do we love for it though? That's the question.
I'm like, listen, I
Sarah
should
that wrote it, or Sarah that read it.
just reading out loud the sex scenes from this book.
Well, that's what we're going to do next live show. We're not even going to talk about it. It's just going to be Sarah
True.
sitting there
I'm
reading, and we're going to be laughing.
It was just, I was dying laughing because I was like, just why? Just why? It's so funny. But see, not a spoiler. It's not a spoiler in the slightest.
No.
Just so funny.
That scenes happen in a lot more in this one.
Yeah.
Man.
It's just so good. I'm like, Chloe, how uncomfortable are you feeling right now?
I'm actually doing all right.
Oh, we love that.
Like, I don't. Maybe maybe now I've read ACOTAR, like I just don't feel uncomfortable anymore. I mean, that's a lie, but to a certain extent.
We love that.
There's definitely
I think it's
worse
when I have to
things than
say.
ACOTAR.
I think sort of consuming it myself and like hearing other people talk about things, like I'm completely fine with. It's just that boundary of then me talking about it, because like I don't know why, but I feel like, I mean, I think most girls growing up are told they're not allowed to speak in a certain way, they're not allowed to talk about certain things, and that's just followed me through into being an adult. So even though like there's supposed to be that sort of thing of you go from being a child to an adult and all of a sudden you're allowed to talk about these things, I just didn't feel like that.
Well, it's not just like talking about it, but like, you know, growing up conservatively, it wasn't just like we don't talk about it. It's more of we don't feel those ways. We don't feel those things, you know. And then you meet other women as you get older who are very open about it, and you're like, oh, thank good. Like, okay, so I am allowed to be and feel these things, and like, you know. And so it's like there's this. I don't know. I always felt like there was this kind of freedom in like finding other women who wants to talk about it, because a lot of my friends in high school, we all grew up very conservatively. You just didn't talk about that kind of stuff. And so there's like a freedom in being able to talk about it and be okay with it. So,
you know, even things like periods. Like I remember the first time someone sort of like, and I was probably about 15 because it was just after I'd moved to Denmark. I was 14 or 15, and someone turned around and was just like, "Have you started your period yet?" And I'd literally just met them, and I was like, "Oh my god, why are you talking to me about this? I don't want to talk about this." And I was kind of like, "Yeah." It was just like, "Why are you asking me?" But Nikki says that med school is going to change, and already. I don't know if this is crude, but I've already seen private parts on like cadavers and stuff like that, so I understand. The thing is, things like that I've never been too bad with, and I know that because I think we have the reproductive systems next year, which, like, funnily enough, like the science behind it is one of the most interesting things for me, but like the personal aspect of it is the thing that I find uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like it's very different. Like, I feel like you would probably be able to kind of separate the two, you know, like when you're looking at it from like a medical perspective, and then when you're like reading a smutty story, and then you know what I mean, like talking about all that kind of stuff. But I mean, I definitely agree with both of you. I've just always been very open in like the way that I speak.
I love that though.
Even when I was younger and like in middle school, like all of my friends like knew that I was the one person that I like just didn't care, and I was like, I'll talk about my period, like I'll talk about this, you know. And so I've just always kind of been like that, which I feel like it's good, but also I feel kind of bad because I know other people are not comfortable with that. So like I never want to make someone uncomfortable with like the things that I say. So like even Chloe, like before we did this, I asked, I was like, how comfortable do you feel with me being open, like talking about stuff on your channel? Because like I just don't ever want to like disrespect anyone or make them uncomfortable. So
I think that's always the best thing, is to ask someone in advance, like whatever you're talking about. But I also think that, like personally for me, the best thing is just to be sort of exposed to people talking about it, because like I would never get past it if people weren't sort of openly. I think my thing also is I don't want to start talking about something that makes me uncomfortable and that makes someone else uncomfortable. But if someone's uncomfortable with that topic, and they're the one that initiates it, then like I can sort of be like, oh, okay, well, this is all right then. And I think that based on what Emily said, I mean, Emily is very, very open about basically everything that we've ever talked about. So I think that you guys would be very similar.
Yeah, I love that. Listen, because I'm the same way. I just don't feel embarrassed talking about stuff like that at all.
I just gauge the other person. I just get a feel for them. And if I feel like their vibe is telling me they don't like this kind of thing, then I just kind of try to match that. But it's hard because I've had some girls open up to me about things and I'm like, oh wow, like, okay, I guess we're gonna talk about this now. So I don't mind doing that. But I just try to gauge and see kind of what they're feeling, because I'm a very empathetic person. So I normally don't have to usually ask like, hey, are you comfortable with this? I can already kind of tell because of that empathetic part of me if you are comfortable with something like that or not. Which is nice. So
which I feel like we've done a good job. I just think it's so funny thinking about like how we're all talking right now from like the first time we did live together and we didn't know each other at all. And we were so like polite and like
and now we're like, bring on the smile.
Literally.
No, right. This is only the second time we've spoken like face to face, and I swear it feels like we've spoken face to face like 15 million times.
A million times.
Well, I mean, I was gonna say in the beginning of this whole live show, I'm like, are you sure you guys just don't want to like show everybody screenshots of our conversation in our chat? Like, I mean,
it's like already basically
I'm gonna tell you everything you need to know.
That's so funny.
So I think the last thing I wanted to talk about was the end, towards the end, what we thought about the ending. And the very first thing, like, so, you know, Tamlin sends Feyre back to the human world to protect her. She can't handle it. She has to go back. She goes back, all these things. And so, you know, she goes to the mansion and Eris is there. Eris? Is that the
Alice?
Alice, something like that. She's there and, you know, she's like, I'm going to go save him. And the whole time I'm thinking, Feyre, what can you really do? You are a human going up against powerful fairies. What do you think you're going to do?
Yeah, I don't know. She was Billy Big Balls in that situation. I was like, just stay home.
Literally, I don't know what you think. What's going to happen. And it all worked out because it was like, okay, she showed up when she needed to. Oh gosh, sorry.
I want to see the alternative ending where she just died and it's just like the end of the series. There you go.
It was interesting for sure. But yeah, I mean, she did hold her own. Yeah. And we love to see it. I mean, I did like the first part of the trial with that weird worm thing.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that was a good one too, where it just showed her kind of being clever, but not necessarily being like, oh, I'm gonna attack this. You know, like I feel like in other fantasy books, it's like they defeat the thing and they kill it and do this whole thing fighting directly against it. But with her, it was more of, okay, well, I'm gonna use my wits and my smarts to figure out a way to kind of go around this. So I feel like I enjoyed that as well.
Yeah, I like that part too. So that I was looking up earlier, my window's there. My husband has decided to go in the backyard and make faces at me, and I was like, get away from this window. So I was like, I looked really weird there for a second.
No, you're
fine. Chloe, what did you think towards the end? The trials and meeting Amarantha, like, did she live up to our expectations? Was she just as menacing as we thought she would be leading up to her? What did you guys think about that?
As I said, I don't think I had expectations for her. Like, I don't know. I can't really put words to it. Like, I thought that she was well written. I thought that it was interesting character and stuff like that. I thought that the trials, I think the whole idea of 3 trials is a bit overdone. I get 3 is a magic number and stuff like that, but it's like when you've seen it before in other series, which we will not mention because we do not support that person that wrote them. But when we've seen 3 trials before, it's kind of like, I don't know, it just feels a bit like a trope kind of thing. But I do like you said, with the sort of showing the cleverness, like I would much prefer a character as sort of witty and understands what they're doing and sort of can use their smarts, because you just don't see it a lot. Usually it's like, oh, someone has to be physically strong. And if you're a reader who is trying to find a character that you can sort of relate to, and you're not a strong person, you're not a physically fit person, but you're someone who thinks that maybe they would be a smarter person in that kind of situation, it's really nice to see.
Yeah, I agree. I also like that the trials, I feel like it really made me like Feyre even more. I just think that whole scene of like her under the mountain, even her kind of like when she was locked up and just really breaking down and stuff, didn't like that for her, but you know, like it made me, like I appreciated her more as a character, for sure. But I also like that the 3 trials were not all of the same type of physical thing. Like, because so the thing with me, I'm not really a big fan of trials because, like I said, I'm not really a big action person. I don't love a ton of action scenes. So when I found out it was 3 trials, I was like, oh great, we're just gonna get 3 action sequences. Like, I'm gonna be bored. But I'm happy that they didn't do that. I'm glad that they made them kind of, well, they were all completely different types of things that she had to do. So I also thought that that was more interesting because I was like, great, I'm gonna be bored, you know, reading these about these 3 trials.
I felt very similar to that too. I was like, 3 trials. I don't mind the 3 trial trope, depending on what you do with it. And I kind of thought that too. I'm like, are we gonna have like 3 where she just like tries to beat these beasts? I'm just like, but I like that it was a little bit different than that. The second trial where she, you know, poor Lucian, he just got the
I know.
The
short end of the stick.
Short end of the stick on all of this, or that ending.
That's what I'm saying.
But I think it really showed that their friendship. You know, sometimes I think like, you know, we see so many lover relationships, and we don't see enough like true friendships between men and women. I mean, you see like the female friendships, the male friendships, all that, but we don't see a good solid. Anytime we see a friendship between a man and a woman, we think, oh, they are going to turn and go in love. No, like they were just genuinely cares about Lucian. He is her friend, and enough to where Amarantha saw that and is going to take advantage of it. And so I really liked that aspect of that, and I really do enjoy Feyre and his relationship and their friendship that's grown. The third trial, I had a prediction, and it was completely wrong. So when they bring out the 3 people, what was it? A woman and 2 men, 2 males. I thought it was going to be Alice and the 2 nephews.
I did as well.
Because that would have been that would have been.
But you know what? Crazy. I'm really happy it wasn't that, because
I'm so happy it wasn't.
I would have been so upset. Like because I was thinking they were doing that. I said no. I said nope. Don't
do it.
Yeah. And I was so happy when it wasn't. I mean, obviously not happy. They were.
I feel like if they would have done that, they probably would have figured. Like, I think Mass would have figured out a way to get her out of that one. Because I think Mass was like, no one wants to see these 3 people killed.
Yeah. And
then the fact that like she actually ended up killing them, I was like, because I mean the whole time I'm thinking, oh, she'll get out of this.
Yeah, me too.
Rhysand will come in. Someone's gonna come in. Someone's gonna save the day, and she's not gonna have to kill these people.
Yeah.
And then she actually had to kill them, and I thought that's deep. Like that's
heavy.
And then, of course, I did not see Tamlin being the third person. That surprised me.
Yeah.
I think that third trial was probably my favorite in the sense that it did not end up like I thought it would.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know she's going to survive the first one.
Mhm.
Obviously, I know she's going to survive the second one. But
Mhm.
that third one was
Yeah.
like, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know how she's going to get out of this one.
Yeah.
And so
Completely
that decision
agree.
she had to make was good. That was good storytelling, and definitely kept me on my toes a bit.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I completely agree. I really enjoyed that scene. Like, I thought it was so interesting. It was so interesting for her as a character as well. Like, just seeing her kind of having to make these decisions, you know, and I liked that trial as well.
Yeah.
Do you guys like that she? Oh well, we'll go through the comments here.
Yeah, I just thought, seeing as we were talking about the last one, I will just add to like the talk about the last trial. It is the best thing to just keep it super thin, try and get it right to the end where you think that it's going to happen. So I think in a way that kind of like it getting really, really close and you're like, oh, is she going to kill him? Is she not? Is she going to die? Is she not? I knew that it would resolve itself because it always does. Like, it's quite a typical thing to get it as close as possible.
We have more books, so we know it gets resolved.
Exactly. But it builds up the tension. It's really interesting and stuff like that. And then after that, obviously, we've got the whole. I can't even remember, how does she end up, like, what is it that happens?
She literally dies.
She really dies.
Are you talking about?
But how does she die? I can't remember what happened.
Amarantha like snaps her neck, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she like.
I think she just like kills her. She's mad.
And it was very like, I didn't really know what was happening when she was like, and I saw myself through Rhysand's eyes. And I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then, you know, I understood it at that point. And then I understood that like all 7 of them helped her. So
yeah, I kind of agree with Nikki. I feel like I don't know. I didn't know what to think about Tamlin during this whole situation, all of these scenes under the mountain, because I understand that he obviously couldn't do a ton to save her, and he was kind of, you know, captive, you know, kind of held hostage type of thing. But I'm like, he could have tried to do something. Yeah. You know, I really just feel like he was just kind of playing the part and just sitting there and allowing this woman that he loves to almost die multiple times. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it was a bit weird to me.
Because in many ways, Rhysand is also captive, which of course we don't really know that until the very end. But after we found out, it's like, well, he was captive too, and he put so much on the line.
Exactly.
To help her. And it's crazy. I did like though that like it wasn't like a damsel in distress type of story, like where he's going to go save her. It was more she was doing all this to save him, which was a nice change. Yeah, because we've kind of stepped away from that, like I said, damsel in distress type of situation. I thought that's how it was going to be, because in the beginning I was like, "Here, what do you think you're going to do? You are human. You cannot beat them." But I think it turned out really well the way that she wrote it.
Yeah,
well, I think it fits really well with the Beauty and the Beast thing as well, because it is kind of like one of those ones where Belle is more clever and like she has her own traits, and it's not just a case of like she's in danger and then someone's saving her. She's actually the one that sort of tries to save the Beast and get him out of that situation. But I do wonder how much, because like when you see Tamlin's reaction, like yes, it could be down to shock or something like that, because people genuinely like in situations where they love someone, they find themselves in shock and they can't do anything. But there's also like, well, the reason that Feyre is in that situation is because he was trying to break his curse. And he went out and tried to find her, right? And the whole thing is just that it needed to be a human that didn't like Faye to begin with, that could then kiss him or whatever. That doesn't mean that he had to be in love with her. So I don't. I mean, then it is the thing of why doesn't he try and save her? Because obviously he needs his curse to be broken and stuff like that. Yeah. But I don't know if at that point it was too late and he was like, oh well, there's no point anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if my ideas of Tamlin are just being affected because I've read the second book. I'm trying to go back and like my initial reactions to just the first one. I did like Tamlin in the first book, and I think my initial reaction to him not doing anything was just him saying like, if I give myself away in any way, Amaranth is going to make this worse for her.
Yeah.
But he was just trying to do what he could, like you were saying earlier, Sarah, there's only so little he could do.
Yeah.
But knowing what I know now, after reading the second book, I see it differently. I'm just saying what I thought just reading the first book and reading the second one.
Yeah.
That I just thought Tamlin was doing whatever he could, and that just happened to be whatever he could do.
Yeah.
You know, at first I was like, when he took her back and he made out with her instead of saving her. At first I was like, oh, I mean, they just really miss each other, and they, you know, it's passion and da-da-da. But again, because I've read ahead, I'm like, okay, now I see the problem.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that could also be changing the way I see the things that he did.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, you can't help it.
Yeah.
I thought the riddle bit was kind of weird, and I just wanted her to go ahead and, I don't know, like, I don't feel like the riddle bit was really necessary.
No,
because wasn't it the rule that if she could solve the riddle, she wouldn't have to do the trials, right? Like, if you can solve the riddle before all these trials are done, you're good. Like, wasn't that it, or am I getting it wrong?
Yes.
Something like that, yeah. You could just
but
walk
she
away.
didn't, so what was even the point of doing those? Like, she didn't figure it out before the riddle ended, or before the trials ended. So what was even the point of having a riddle?
I don't know. Is it just me that thought that riddle was super easy? I was like, I read it once and I was like, it's love. Like, it's so cheesy, and it's I
think she did solve it though, because
toward the end,
Oh, towards the end, yes,
like, right after that third trial, she and so I was like, I actually didn't get it, but I'm really bad with riddles, so
yeah, I could never.
I'm gonna find it. Which
I could never do a riddle ever in my life.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I think it was like a weird thing to have. Yeah, I agree. It was kind of like unnecessary. I'm like, for what reason?
I thought it just made it a bit cheesy, like having a riddle and the answer was love. Yeah. And like the whole thing is like love and trying to get him out of this curse. I just thought it was a bit too much. Like the line at the end where it's like, and then they walked off together or something. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
It was a bit happily ever after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys like, how did you guys feel about her being turned into a fairy? Did you think that like that should have happened, or do you wish she would have stayed human? Or did
I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't really have like too much an opinion on it. Like, I feel like it was interesting, but like I don't really have an opinion. Coming? I did not see it coming. No, I was surprised
I didn't
by
see
that.
anything coming.
The only reason I saw it coming is because I saw fan art with her ears pointed, and I was like, I think I'm going to turn into a fairy.
Yeah.
If you have pointy ears, it's because you're a fairy. It's not because you got plastic surgery or anything.
Yeah.
Maybe she just felt like she didn't look like everyone else, so she wanted to get plastic surgery to look like them. No, I think that it was a good thing to further the plot.
Sure.
Because, like, theoretically, if in the future she was still a human and she was like, I'm done with this shit, I don't want to be here anymore, and she goes back to the human realm, it's like, well, that's kind of the end of the story. If she's a fairy, she's got a connection, she sort of has to stay there. So,
yeah.
I think it was clever in that sense.
Yeah, I agree. I really just wasn't expecting it. Because, I feel like when she died, I was very much like, wait, what? I was like, wait, so like what's going to happen?
I'm like, wait a minute, we have other books. What are we doing?
Yeah, I was like, I'm super confused. So like, I think that was good because I was, even though you obviously know, since there's other books, you know that she's not dead. I think it was surprising when she did die because, I was like, wait, so then what is it going to be?
Yeah.
Waiting the whole book for her to
I didn't hate it. Sometimes I don't like it when fantasy does that to the human characters. Like, it's not that I don't like it. I just get kind of like, because we see it all the time, I'm like, the person with the hidden power, I get kind of bored with the chosen one tropes. I get a little bored with like he or she had a power, or they had a power that they didn't know about, you know?
Yeah.
And like, even like Twilight, Bella being turned into a vampire, I'm like, really?
Yeah.
That's how, and so I had mixed feelings about it. Like, I didn't mind it, but at the same time, I'm like, really? But I see why it had to happen. Like, I totally see why it needed to happen.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no, Leah, I feel you. I'm conflicted by it.
Yeah. But I think it also just leaves more, though. Like, I feel like it is good in the long run because I think it leaves for more content for future books. Because, if she was just still human, it's like there's only so much you can do with that.
And as you move into the second book, Chloe, it gets, You're like, okay, I'm glad you're a fairy.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I'm going to say about that one.
Yeah,
I was disappointed, and Sarah, I think you said it in your vlog about like how it didn't really end on a cliffhanger as much as I wanted it to. But I watched like some other bigger booktubers, and they were talking about sometimes authors will do that on purpose because they don't know if they will get another book deal. Like they want to be able to tie it up in a nice, neat bow for the first book, because what if the publisher is like, nope, we're dropping you.
Yeah.
So after learning about that, I was like, okay, maybe that's why when she originally wrote it, she didn't know it was going to be like, she didn't know if they were going to let her have a series.
Yeah. And
then of course they did, and it blew up. And then she was probably more comfortable writing cliffhangers after that.
But I do think Throne of Glass was already out. So wasn't she like already a little bit more of a popular author? Because I'm pretty sure the Throne of Glass, at least the first couple Throne of Glass books, I'm pretty sure were out.
Yeah.
By the time she wrote this.
I don't know. That was the other thing I had too, of like, was this her first book or not?
Yeah. I think, I was definitely disappointed at the end because I think it was just too nicely wrapped up. And I think, because I don't need it to be this like extreme massive cliffhanger, but I want there to at least be some inkling. She could have done something, like some inkling of like a ... You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Type of thing.
I mean, she kind of did with like war is coming, and like we have this King of Tyburn still here, so like she kind of did. But looking back, though, I'm kind of glad. There's a part of me that's like a little glad it wasn't a cliffhanger because I had other books I needed to read, and I wasn't ready to move on to the second book yet. So I'm like, I need to read other books. I'm kind of glad this wasn't a cliffhanger, because I needed to get through some other stuff. So
but I just prefer it when it's that kind of middle ground. Like, I don't like it when it's like you're stopping in the middle of like this crazy thing that's happening, and now I have to pick up the next book immediately. I like it when things are, wrapped up, but I don't like it when it's like tied together in a bow.
Right.
Okay, can we? Yeah.
Okay, we're not bringing the whole thing, like young people doing things, how it annoys me.
What is it, Chloe?
I think I get really like, I think it comes out of a place of anxiety and like not being happy with myself, and the fact that I am 19 years old and I've done a lot less than like a lot of people that are younger than me. So whenever I hear like 16-year-olds writing books and then them becoming like this massive thing, or like 16, 17, 18-year-olds like winning Grammys and things like that, I'm just like, can you please not? Can you just let me enjoy my life?
You are doing cool stuff, though. You live in a completely like, you moved away from your country.
I know.
I come from a small
get an award
town
for that. I want someone to come and be like, here you go, here's your award.
Yeah. I come from a small town that like where no one goes anywhere. Like they don't ever want to leave. And so when I moved to the UK, they were like, what are you doing? Like you don't want to stay in your small town? I'm like, nope. So, but yeah, you're right. It's like, someone give me some recognition for doing something that no one else has done in my small town.
Yeah, I'm like, I literally hate my job. So
what is your job? I don't think you've ever said anything about your job.
It's an office job. Like, I'm a legal office assistant. It's boring.
Are you going to school at all, or?
I graduated. I got my degree. I graduated undergrad, but yeah, I'm like one of those, 20 somethings. I have absolutely no clue what I want to do with my life.
Okay.
I'm like, Chloe, you're absolutely fine.
Okay. You guys really are. I am 30. I'll be 31 this year, and I'm just now feeling like I got it together. I got an English degree. What can you do with that? I had so many jobs. I had an office job. I was a preschool teacher for a bit. I worked, I did retail, just to make ends meet. And, that is just a part of being in your early 20s.
Yeah.
I'm telling you it is. And I'm an adjunct professor, which really isn't a career because adjuncts are basically part-time teachers. I do not get to teach literature classes like I would want to. I teach composition writing, and it's not the most fun. And so that's why I'm getting my library degree, so I can actually go do something that's a full-time career.
Yeah.
If I didn't have, Jeremy, because he works in the medical field, so he makes good money, like it would not be great. So
what does he work as?
He is a manager at a hospital in the dialysis unit.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's been in the dialysis unit he started out as a tech, and then he went into nursing, and then now he's a manager. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And that's helped us because and like adjuncting, I've had to work. It's not like I get to work at one school. I have to work at multiple schools just to pay, just to make enough money to be comfortable. Because I really don't want Jeremy being the one just making money. I want to make my own money too, obviously. And so does he. He wants me to do that as well. So he's like, so you guys are fine. You're figuring
out. No, I the thing is, I'm 100% aware that 99.9% of people go a very long time in their life without realizing what they want to do. Like, my parents are some of the most amazing people just purely for the fact that they didn't fall into what they wanted to do until very, very recently. My mum's still studying to become a nurse. So she's 40 something and she's still studying. My dad has only just found a career that he feels sort of comfortable in. So I'm aware that it can take a very long time for people to find out what they want to do. But it's also because you don't see that on the news. You don't see news and things, social media about people who are trying to figure out their life. You hear about the people that are very successful, and you don't even hear about all the stuff they did before to get successful. And I think that's the thing that really sort of irks me.
Yeah, I think there's a misconception that you do have to figure everything out by a certain time. Guys, I teach college freshmen, and most of them, you can tell that college is the last place they want to be. But we're pushed towards the uni track.
Yeah.
So many students, so many kids are pushed towards the university track when they really don't want it to be. But that is the mentality of this is what you do after high school. And you need to get your degree in 4 years. And if you want to go get your master's, you need to go immediately into it. And if you want to go get your PhD, you need to go immediately into it. And it's just this common misconception that you have to get everything done before you're 30. And it's actually the opposite. Use your 20s to figure it out. And I'm telling you, everyone told me this, when you hit 30, you just become so much more comfortable in your own skin and you stop caring about stuff. And it's so true. It is so true. It's nice. It's really, really
I'm 10 years left.
You guys are doing great. And you
10
guys
years
are
and 20 days.
You've got plenty of time to figure it out.
Yeah. Can we go back to the comment about Reese's reaction? Because I actually want to talk about that. Because when I read it, I literally annotated it and I said, what?
Remind me of Reese's reaction.
I will read it to you.
Please do.
It's a little story.
Okay. So it was just when he was saying bye. It was literally the second to last page. It says his eyes locked on mine, wide and wild, and his nostrils flared. Shock. Pure shock flashed across his features at whatever he saw in my face, and he stumbled back a step. Actually stumbled.
Wait,
and
then
he just disappears.
Yeah.
And
I completely forgot about that. But yeah, what was that?
I was super confused, and I don't remember what I was reading. I think I was just reading through Goodreads or something. And I think someone said that what if now that she's Fae, a high Fae, or no, she's not a high Fae. Is she high Fae? Yes.
I think she's a high Fae.
She's high Fae. That now he saw that she's his mate or something, and that's what that shock was. Because remember, there's something of mating where you can mate with someone, and it's such a strong bond that you don't have to marriage isn't even in the cards type of thing.
But that I don't want to go to math too much, but that kind of contradicts what's going in.
Oh,
Like,
really?
and we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, I
don't
just
know how far you are in
know.
the aftermath yet. I don't know if you've gotten to the part because I would just say there's a part where Recent explains everything.
Oh,
I'm going to say about that one. And it kind of contradicts that theory. I don't know. I could be completely wrong, but I was shocked at that part. I was like, what was that?
Yeah, I was
weird.
really confused
Like,
as well.
what was that?
Yeah, it was very odd. Oh, bye. Thank you so much
Bye,
for hanging out and chatting. But yeah, it was
so weird.
I was like super confused. Like I
read it a couple
part.
times.
I reread
Like,
it multiple times because I was just thoroughly confused.
Oh, she said you'll find out later.
Interesting.
You guys talk about Aftermath because
right.
Yeah, but I mean,
I don't feel like it made it
not
clear in
even
Aftermath.
Maybe it's something that's probably going to be in the last book.
Maybe.
Bye, Leah.
Bye, Leah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, should we close this out?
Yeah, it's probably
I was gonna say,
I was
we've
trying
been
to like
talking
talk
forever.
about the ending to kind of give it a closure. Yeah. Well, this has been fun, guys.
I know.
Yeah.
I had so much fun.
Can't wait for you to ACOTAR, Chloe.
I know.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
I'm gonna read that for the rest of the day today because
Are you almost? You said you were 200 pages. Are you?
I still have like 200 pages. I didn't read much yesterday.
Okay.
So.
Woo!
Yeah.
Fun.
Right. Oh, she said bye to Emily. He's like, bye, Leah.
Well, we're going, Leah.
You're not welcome here anymore. With regards to the live show, we still haven't figured it out. But we have to take into consideration that we've got the J City live show, which is the 12th, right?
Yeah.
So, and then I've got exams for like a week or something, but like that will be fine. So either it will be sort of afterwards, so it will be towards the end of June, or it will be before and it'll be towards the beginning of June. But like it seems like a lot of the people that have watched this live have been people that have already read it sort of like in the past. So I don't think it's too much of an issue of like not leaving enough space.
Yeah.
And I know I can probably read it in a week anyway, so.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Okay.
We can figure out the logistics of it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Awesome.
So I think we'll say goodbye now.
Yes. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. It was fun.